Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Disrespect Sports Network. I'm Brett Swinney. This is Off the Ropes, episode 11. We're going to talk Forbidden Door and Money in the Bank. I'm going to bring in the guys here. We've got Kyle, Matt, Brandon, and Jereme with us. Welcome, fellas.
What's up, guys?
I thought it was apropos I lead with Will Ospreay's music after this past weekend, guys. And we'll talk about that. But it was I'd say a pretty good pay-per-view. And we're going to talk about each match. But first, let's talk about the pick'ems. We have a tie at the top with only missing one pick. I don't know if you guys have even knew who won. Kyle and Matt tied at 9. So there was a clip from last episode that and Matt and Kyle went back and forth about that. Kyle was definitely going to pick different than Matt. Like he was going to be different. Do you remember that, fellas? The clip? And Kyle said that he was not going to pick the same as Matt. And Matt said, "Are you going to pick against MJF?" And he said, "Absolutely not." But you and guys ended up picking the same and tying with 9 out of 10. So congratulations there.
Good job, Matt.
Hey, a brilliant mind in UKO, and I'm glad to be part of that ride.
I'd kind of like a recount here. I have myself at 9-1 actually.
I have you have 8, Jeremy. You missed Blackpool Combat Club, and also you picked Jericho.
Yeah, okay, you're right. I'm an idiot.
How many did I get right?
Okay, so Brandon, he's got 7 with an asterisk because we did give him a possible bonus point for picking the partner. So that would put you at 8. You'd be with
me a bonus point.
Me and Jeremy were.
I think there should be 3 bonus points.
Let's not stretch it.
We'll go 1.5. We'll go 1.5. He's still in second.
Yeah, because me and Jeremy had 8. We were in second there. And if Brandon, I was going to give him a point to bring him up here with me and Jeremy at
3-way tie for last. Okay.
Yeah, I mean we're all at the bottom. We didn't win, so it's okay.
Hey, but everyone too, man.
And that's still pretty solid. Although we were, on some of those, we were pretty sure about how it was going to go. But we all had a chance to gain one there, and we all picked BCC, and we were all incorrect there. So I think we all thought that was going to be a kind of a toss-up, and then we all ended up going with that. So I guess someone could have slid an extra pick there if we'd have flipped that one. But
in a retrospect, when I was stewing over missing that thing, I was thinking, well, they probably got to get the Elite a win since Kenny is probably going to take a loss. So I guess, and Brian got the win. So, I guess the Black.
But did he really win? Did he really win though, fellas? Ouch. I don't think that's a win to me. So, let's talk about let's try to kind of go down the card and talk about this one. We have the first one here. We had, although I thought the match order was interesting, and they started with, they announced it right off the top that MJF was going to lead the card. I guess that's where we'll start. It was interesting. I thought it was a very solid match, even though we knew, or 99.9% sure, that MJF was going to win that one. But what did you guys think of it?
No, I'm getting a little tired of MJF shtick. I appreciate that he's a nice hybrid of Ric Flair and Rick Rude and a couple of others, but his matches are starting to kind of go under the same predictable train. And he's a very good technical wrestler, but he's got to do something to tell different stories through his mat work, because I'm just not seeing it lately. And again, his matches, even with Adam Cole, are becoming very predictable. And I'm just not liking the MJF product right now. I think he needs to get more back on the mic, get a little bit more involved, instead of being the I'm only going to wrestle once every 3 months kind of thing. Because
and he has to cheat to win every time,
right?
Is that do y'all not get tired of that? I mean, after a certain point, does he need to prove that he's that good and win some clean every once in a while? I mean, because does it really make him elevate him when he has to cheat every time?
I think it's interesting that Matt says that, because there's a lot of talk if you read online about people being tired of MJF and kind of what his, it was cool at first, or it was different at first, and now it's just the same thing every week. It's the same thing every week, same thing every week. I still think he's great to watch, and I think that uh, he's gotten. I don't know. It's hard to say this, Matt. I'm with you that he hasn't been living up to what he's been talking, but I do think he's gotten better as time has gone on from where he was maybe 2 years ago till now. I think he's gotten a little stale too, thinking about himself. But I mean, I think it was. It's kind of more of MJF does what he wants, right? Like he said last week, I'm going to be the first match, and I'm getting out of there. I don't want to be there anymore. So they kind of played into that a little bit, and it's one of those things where I'm kind of curious to see where it all ends and who it ends with, because at this point they're just feeding him everything he wants to do. And not that I want it to end. I like him being relevant. I like him being on TV, but it's got to be something different. And I think it's what we go back to the last pay-per-view. They just don't have anybody to throw at him that makes him do anything different. Like, is that going to be Punk? Is it going to be whoever's going to be Adam Cole? I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody has to bring that out of him. And when you're feeding him Jungle Boy and Darby Allin, those guys are going to bring it out of him. And then in a match with no build, basically, Sunday night, you weren't going to bring it out of him. So I think that's got a lot to do with it, kind of the situations he's been in. And I'm curious now, they've got 2 full months to build for Wembley and what that will look like and how he will evolve in the next 2 months.
Did y'all see his tweet that he scheduled? I thought that was clever. He scheduled a tweet that went off during his match saying he's already beaten he beat the opponent and he's already done, but match was still going. I thought that was kind of clever that he would do that. Only he would be so arrogant that he would schedule a tweet thinking he'd already be dealing with the match. Kyle, go ahead and give us your thoughts. I know you were about to say something a second ago.
I love MJF. I think MJF is great. I don't think Tanahashi looked very good on Collision Saturday night. He looked old. He looked slow. He didn't look good. And maybe that was the style that Swerve was wrestling, and they couldn't – sometimes you just don't have a good dance partner. But I think Sunday during Forbidden Door, MJF worked slow enough for Tanahashi where they both looked good. I loved just the tweet that MJF had scheduled to go out. That just shows how much of a prick he is. And I just love it. I think
I'm glad someone caught that, because I thought that was – I was like, when they said that, and they said it on air, they said there's already – I thought that was –
I went and looked immediately, and I was like, oh, okay, he really did send this out. But I thought it was a good match. It was a good open, and it falls into the MJF story where he's just a jerk. He just didn't want to be in Canada, so he said, give me the first match, let me get out of here. I do agree with y'all where both you, Bret, and Matt, where I don't like him cheating to win every time. I think he needs to get some clean victories. Wasn't that 60-minute Iron Man match with Danielson, wasn't that a clean victory?
No, because that went to that overtime, and then he hit him with the camera over the head.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember. But yeah, he does need some clean victories. I don't like that he has to cheat every time to win, but I love MJF. I love everything he's doing. I don't want to see him wrestle every week. I think him wrestling sparingly but still being on the show is okay, as opposed to Roman Reigns, who never wrestles and shows up when he decides to show up for work. So I'm a big fan of MJF. Love the opening match.
All right.
Yeah. And MJF, the characters, it's hard to knock the character. And that obviously that's why he cheats all the time, because that's builds in his character. But I agree with y'all too that he does need a clean victory here or there, just to be able to take the wrestler more serious. I mean, he's great. He's the great sports entertainer. I mean, but there's another level there I don't think we've seen yet, and hopefully it comes soon. Like Jereme said, we don't know who's going to bring it out of him, but hopefully it is Adam Cole. And I think that might be the Wembley, and then
could be.
And then if he gets past that, then we'll see someone else. I don't think that's next.
Well, it's coming, because Punk's already alluded
to
it
coming.
that he's got the belt still.
I think it's coming. I think that's the big sell for Wembley. Other than, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but I think you're going to get Omega Ospreay 3 there too, also. So I mean, I think those are going to be the big two.
Maybe I don't know. Is Kenny okay?
I read today Kenny's fine.
Who killed Kenny?
I read today Kenny's fine. I mean, I think that's, which is shocking. We'll get there in a minute, but I think those are the two big matches. If they're going to throw out the two biggest matches, of course, they've already sold all the tickets. Now it's just about the buys, right? So now it would be Punk MJF and Ospreay Omega will be the two biggest matches I think they could sell.
Give me Zack Sabre Jr. against somebody too, please.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Ooh, but yeah, I think this match, I mean, obviously, you know, it was a big match to start off, not one we were expecting to lead off, but a solid match. You know, obviously it wasn't that big, wasn't a match of the night type caliber match, but you know, it was a solid match to get things kicked off. Everybody loves to hate MJF, so you know, the crowd was already pumped for that. So one thing I would say is that Tanahashi, I kind of agree. He did look a little bit slow. You know, that's his second title shot. You know, he fought Moxley previously for this, and so maybe he's getting this shot just because of his name, getting that match. But I think if you have to have someone to take the pin, he's a good one to do that for us because he's not the top star right now in New Japan. So
yeah, they didn't have another choice. I mean, when you take out Ospreay and Okada, who else are you going to give? I think that's who it had to be. But you're right. That's weird. It's 2 title matches for him on Forbidden Door, and be interested to see how they use him next year if he's back.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got any more thoughts? Y'all want to move on to the next one? You good? All right. So we'll talk the next match. We got CM Punk versus Kojima. And man, was the crowd a little bit different. Of course, it was Saturday night, it was as well, but a little bit different than in Chicago at home, as it was more split. I mean, there was still some CM Punk chants, but there was a lot of people that were booing him as well. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that just because I think the polarity of his character now with everything that's gone on backstage wise and beyond. How long do they leave him face before they turn him heel? I mean, you keep getting the John Cena split and just let it ride, or at some point, you know, do you full-fledged? Because that promo he cut the other night was almost kind of a heelish promo. I mean, he's basically like, I'm telling the truth. If you don't like it, then you're soft. I mean, he was taking shots at everybody. But so that's kind of something interesting that came across in this match, and also Collision, since we hadn't talked since then. But I think that's what you're going to see from now on, unless they just full-fledged turn Punk heel, and then he'll just be a Chicago fan favorite, and then everywhere else he'll be booed.
You know, one thing I think we can easily see with AEW is that they're very, and maybe too much, and this might be a credit to WWE, and Kyle and I probably
wait, can I get a clip of that, Matt?
Giving credit to the WWE, but they are very hypersensitive to what the fans, and this is spoiling later on, but I mean, you can see what they already did with Jack Perry, and that was like 1 week of that kind of crowd reaction. So I think with CM Punk, they might vacillate him a little bit, just more because we don't know what we're going to expect, because some of the cities are coming up within Toronto are not necessarily wrestling cities in quotes. So maybe he'll still be cheered there, but your good wrestling cities, he might still be heavily booed. So I think they may take more of a wait and see approach, but AEW doesn't really give, if the tide is turned, like with the Acclaimed and some other things, they quickly go with that.
I guess the point is, do you really have to declare him one or the other? I mean, like, there's a lot of guys that we could talk about that are they heel or are they face? And the crowd, I mean, look at WWE, for example. Let's talk about LA Knight, right? Like, how did he come out? He came out as a heel, but the crowd loves him anyway. And I'm not sure there's been a face turn or a heel turn with him since then, but they just kind of let him be. And I think Punk is going to be what he's going to be. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know whether it's face or heel or who he's against or he's not against. I think the crowds are going to be the same. So honestly, I almost would say play into that a little bit, like leave some ambiguity there as to what he's going to be. And it gives you more options of who you can put. Well,
he's getting the reaction either way, Jeremy. Because I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Loud. It's so I'm with you there. I don't know that you mess with it and just kind of let it see how it plays out. Eventually, depending on who he faces, if they take that shoot and turn it into a work down the line with the Bucks, Kenny Omega at some point, then he's probably going to be the heel in that, just because he's not Kenny Omega in the elite. I mean, but for now, I think you just let it ride.
Well,
he's getting the reaction. It's better than no reaction.
and if he is next for MJF, I mean, naturally he's the face, right? Because is MJF the bigger heel? To some people's eyes, you may see that be where they can turn MJF if they ever want to do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I would either. I like them both in the role they're in, but I'm just saying you could play into him being kind of on. He's not on the fence. I think after the promo, I think that the promo on Collision 2 weeks ago was to establish him as he wants to be heel. I mean, he even said, "I'm tired of being nice." I'm all these kind of things. So, but man, there's still going to be a lot of people that love him, but just depending on where they go. I mean, you saw that this weekend. Two opposites in 2 weeks of Collision was night and day different.
And even with MJF being kind of the hometown hero of Long Island, I know Long Island isn't necessarily a place they go to often, but I mean, there's some really crazy things you can do with fan feedback with that. And really, if you remember the first MJF CM Punk feud, that was where MJF started kind of getting turned, kind of that whole villain backstory when he talked about loving CM Punk and that epic promo that we all remember with that. So, I mean, putting him with CM Punk, you never know how the crowd's going to react because we've already seen it once where MJF started to become a sympathetic heel, even though he had to really fight hard and even push Tony Schiavone to try to get such cheap heat to stay a bad guy.
And I love UK wrestling fans. Those two against each other in Wembley, that would be nuts.
Yeah. Well, they've already it's like a record as far as the tickets and stuff they've been talking about. Like, I think only the one that's grossed more is like WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. So I think, and they haven't even, we still have 2 months really before it's here. So, honestly, that could be the biggest play that AEW has done so far to make some kind of dent in WWE is do this Wembley event.
For
honestly.
sure.
Yeah, and sometimes the gray area is not good, but I agree with Jeremy about that. For CM Punk, it probably doesn't matter because you have to force it. Because sometimes, like kind of mentioned earlier, but if you force it, it could be too bad. Like how they used to force Roman to be a face when everybody wanted him to turn heel, and then now they turn heel. People now he kind of gets a mixed reaction. So you don't have to force it, and especially with someone like CM Punk, because no matter what you do with him, he's going to get the mixed reaction.
But I think heel Punk's the best Punk. I think we probably would all agree about that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think even his partnership with FTR, even, right? Like, I think those guys in kind of a heel role makes them even better too, in my opinion. That's, I may be in the minority there, but I'm with you, man. I wouldn't jack with it. I would let him go. I'd let it be.
And you never know because, I think of Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins has been heel technically. He's not fighting heels right now. He's acting as a face, but he's the whole Monday Night Messiah. He never had that official turn. It's just the crowd loved him. So if you just kind of play into that and let him be what he's going to be, you might take the inflammatory commentary out, but it could be really fun, and it gives them a chance and it gives them a platform to do something creative when they do that right. Because some people could say that John Cena, they didn't do that right, they just kept him as a face. They could AEW storytelling has a chance to be good, and that's an area where AEW has shined. So this is a great chance, a great proving ground, if you will, for us to see what they can do with that.
And that's a credit to AEW fans, Matt and Brandon and Bret, because here's the thing I like about it is, think about Jericho, one of the biggest heels they have in the company, right? Yet when his song pops, everybody in the crowd singing it and they love it. So I think that's a credit to the fans that they can appreciate the entertainer, appreciate the wrestler, sorry, and then also buy into the storyline and what they're doing too. There's so many things about that are great.
I think we have CM's here with us. It's not Punk. It's CM Corey Marshall is here live with us. Welcome, Corey. He said this CM ain't no Punk. That's funny.
Corey, turn on the camera.
Yeah, join us. Talk some wrestling, Corey. But okay, so we run the match.
Cal's real quick while
the match.
I think he's
itself,
on the phone with Tony Khan right now.
Oh, is he? Okay. Hey, KO, he might be on the phone with Uncle Kevin.
Oh.
The match itself was solid, guys. for Punk being out this long, I thought overall the match was pretty good. Had some fighting outside over the barrier. I kind of liked when Punk was making fun of Kojima. He was like chanting his name when he was doing the chops. Thought that was kind of cool. But I mean, honestly, I can't tell that Punk has missed this much time. At his elder statesman age, I'm not sure exactly how old he is. But hasn't wrestled in all this time, and then he came back for a little stint and then out for injury. I thought the match was pretty solid. I mean, honestly, it had some tough shoot. I mean, this whole card was incredible, but I thought it held its own overall.
I mean, I thought it was what I expected. And you're right. I think match placement says a lot. The fact that this pay-per-view was so big that MJF and CM Punk can go on 1 and 2. I think I texted you guys that in the middle of it too. Like, that's pretty amazing to me where they're at. But the match was what we expected, right? We all thought Punk would win the match. We didn't think he would take the loss, and it was going to be good work. I mean, I think they weren't going to put him in the ring with somebody who couldn't work well with him. And I thought him and Kojima worked well together. I thought it was a good match.
I'm going to be in the minority on this one. I'm just going to be crapping all over parts of this pay-per-view anyway. I mean, I'm not an NJPW guy. I don't watch New Japan, so a lot of these guys, I don't even know who they are, and this is one I didn't even know who he was. So if there's any sort of history or build, I just had to look at it as almost like the Thunderdome. You said two guys. The crowd made it, fun as far as their interaction, but the actual match itself was kind of boring and predictable, and neither really was much of anything as far as match quality goes. So I was personally a little bit underwhelmed, but that could possibly have to do with the fact I had no idea who he was wrestling at all.
All right, Kyle, you want to comment here on this one?
Yeah, I think I'm over CM Punk. He is polarizing. He is a polarizing figure. He gets a reaction, and that's what you want as a wrestler. You don't want to come out to no reaction. So he's going to get a reaction one way or the other. I think in Chicago he'll always be babyface. Doesn't matter. He could get away with murder in Chicago. They don't care. But everywhere else, you're going to see what you saw in Toronto: split reaction. You're going to have some people that love him, some people that hate him, and he's going to play into it. But I heard what you said, Jeremy. You don't. And I agree. You don't need to change him one way or the other. Just let him be CM Punk. Just let him be who he is. Don't mess with it. Just let him keep doing what he's doing. And then over time, organically, if he falls into the heel category, then turn him completely heel. But right now, he can play that tweener role. As far as the match, like Matt, I mean, it was on the card. It was there. And Punk wrestled. I do agree with you, Bret. For the first match, his first singles match in some months, he looked good in the ring. I just don't.
He's never been spectacular, though. I mean, it was a solid match. I mean,
I don't really care about CM Punk. So as far as the match goes, I didn't know the guy from New Japan, and I don't care about CM Punk too much. I just really didn't care about the match. It was a decent match.
The next match might be interesting though, Kyle, because he's in that cup match, and it looks like it could be a collision course with possibly Samoa Joe, and that intrigues me.
That I can get behind. But that's more because I like Joe, not because of Punk.
And there's lots of history there.
Right.
Even back to Ring of Honor.
It was a decent match, and I think going forward, once he gets into more feuds, maybe I'll gain more interest. But after the All Out and everything that happened, the fallout from All Out, I'm tired of hearing about CM Punk, honestly. But I mean, with Joe, I'll be interested in that, but it's more so because of Joe. And this is not me hating on CM Punk. I think he's good at what he does. I just personally don't care for him.
Well, and I think the point, KO, is in the ring is not what he does. He's a storyteller more than he is a wrestler, right? And that's even in the match, before the match. So I think that's what makes him what he is. I'm with you. Like, I'm intrigued by CM Punk. I like the fact he's able to do that. But as a worker, like,
well, in that match, didn't have
he's
much
not in
build
the
either,
upper level.
Jeremy, that match was not one of those that had a lot of build as far as storyline goes. So that's why I think it's not as like you said. He sells the storyline. So if he doesn't have a build for a match, that's probably why it's not as interesting. I mean, I thought it was solid, but it was just okay as far as comparison to some of the match on this card. He's not going to be one that can just go out there and do a crazy match and not care about storyline. He needs storyline to go with his wrestling to build him.
He sold the crowds what he did, right? Like that was his story for the match. It was never about Kojima. It was about the crowd and the reaction. He bought it. I mean, that to me, that's the greatness of what he does. Is it doesn't really matter what the situation is, he can do that. His type of match is more of a beat down, physical, not technically great match. That's why him and Samoa Joe. I mean, don't take that the wrong way, but that's why him and Joe will be interesting or more interesting because it's going to be one of those physical matches. It's why the dog collar match was so good. It was why he excels in things like when he was in WWE and Money in the Bank and those type of things. So that's his thing. But the crowd and the stories are what he does best. And I'm with you, Kale, a little bit. I love CM Punk still. I like watching him when he's on TV. I'm paying attention. But at what point does everybody become tired of it? Because at this point, it's getting there. Matt talks about MJF getting there, but to me, it's Punk who's going to get there first, which is why I think they almost have to let them go at each other one more time, and it's got to be this summer.
And I just want to kind of piggyback on that because I think one thing AEW does that is a little bit off, and I think they've really, I mean, you can even see it in Collision that they've forced it the last couple of weeks. They're giving Punk these 30 and 40-minute matches, or these time windows instead of just letting him go out there for maybe 8 to 10, have that hard-hitting match, and it's just getting too drawn out. So I'd like to see him get kind of to these 8 to 12-minute matches. I think that's his sweet spot, and he might not be so overextended after that.
And I think that's why Ricky Starks didn't match up with him and FTR the other night, right? Like, to me, FTR is the same way, and Ricky Starks is not to me. Ricky Starks, to me, is more can get in the match and go for 15, 20 minutes. And I think that's what's interesting about Punk being back this time. And you're right, Matt. They're giving him almost too much time in the ring. Give him a microphone, that's great. But don't put him in the ring for 20 minutes, please.
I mean, you could almost have him come out like MJF does and just cut a promo, talk some noise to somebody and not wrestle every week. And I would be okay with that too. Because that's what's gonna build a storyline more than having, I'm gonna wrestle this guy because I don't like his tag team partner and getting these back and forth, those kind of story builds. He can just do it on the microphone. Let him do that. That's what he does. Yeah. That's why people watch him, not for his crazy wrestling. He does a fine job in the ring. He's solid, but that's not what's made him millions of dollars. It's the microphone. So let him do that more and wrestle less, in my opinion. All right. So on that one, I think we all got that one correct. And, of course, we all got the MJF one correct as well. So let's move on down the card. And this match, I think I mentioned that I was thinking that this could be one of those that ended up being not the top match, but a very, very high up is the 4-way between Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, Shibata, and Zack Sabre Jr. And guys, there was some great spots in this match. Orange Cassidy retains. We all had Orange Cassidy. We all kind of figured. We did the math here. 3 had a belt. Garcia wasn't winning. He was taking the pin. We all were pretty correct on that. I think every one of us had kind of the same idea. But, man, just the reaction, Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. one-on-one to me would be fantastic. He's so aerial and so just does these crazy stuff. And then with Orange Cassidy, he's kind of comedy / he does crazy stuff too. I mean, and then you added in the extra guys in the match and they just added to it. I mean, what did you guys think of this? I thought this was it was my top 3 match of the night. I think, it was up there.
I mean, it was a good match. I texted you guys during the middle of this and asked you, could Zack Sabre be a superstar in American wrestling? And I said that because I think in the ring, the dude's really good, right? I just worry about what would keep me from wanting to follow Zack Sabre Jr. now going forward would be the fact that there was no, what we were talking about with CM Punk that makes you want to follow CM Punk is the way he talks and the way he carries himself, the way he does things. And Sabre Jr. doesn't have that to me. He's a great worker. But think about Orange Cassidy. Is he a better worker than Orange Cassidy in the ring? Maybe, but we like Orange Cassidy because of all the other stuff that goes with him. And I think that's where he struggles, is being able to pull the crowd in, the New Japan and the I don't want to say indie like it's a bad thing, but the indie scene, the New Japan scene, you can get people follow you there and love you there because of what you do as a worker. And that's just he's great at it. I thought it was a solid match. I thought Shibata, I didn't know who Shibata was before last week. I love the guy now. I think he's fun to watch. And Daniel Garcia played the role that he had to play very well too. I thought it was a good match. I don't know if it was top 3 for me, but I love Orange Cassidy. I'm surprised he wasn't first. Right, that's the AEW trend to put him on first. But I thought it was a good match. But I think I'm with you.
He was until MJF pulled the MJF card, Jeremy.
Okay, maybe so. And Jericho will tell you second's the worst, so they didn't want to give Orange Cassidy second. They gave it to Punk. I don't know, but anyway, I thought it was a very good match. One of the better ones. You're right. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it was top 3, but all 4 of those guys did a great job. I thought of doing their job in that match.
Well, Jeremy, also with Punk around, will Orange Cassidy lead as many shows? Because it seems like they like to have Punk come out first too, so to get that crowd going. So they may alternate. I guess Punk will lead off Collision, and Orange will lead off Dynamite, and then they'll flip a coin who leads off Rampage.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was a really good match. I love the way it started. Was just like, I mean, it had you not wrestling wise, but just like, oh, this is like, I'm into it because the way Orange started, he did his little soft kicks to all 3 of them. Then they like played Ring Around the Rosie with them and did all these sorts of things. And then it's like, okay, like this is gonna be. Same with. I'd have to think if it was top 3 because I know what my top 2 is, and then I think there's a couple others. No, yeah, it wasn't top 3 in my eyes, but it was a fun match. And I could watch Orange Cassidy. I mean, because just last year we were watching Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay, and that was probably the match of the night then. And then now Orange Cassidy's in one of the best matches again, and Will Ospreay was in the best match. So it shows when you put those 2 together, are separate. They're both great. But Orange Cassidy's fun to watch because he's entertaining and he's a good wrestler. He didn't, at first when I knew who he was when AEW started, like I'd heard of him, but I didn't know like this whole gimmick thing. And so at first I was like, can this work? Can this work? And then as I started watching, I was like, this guy's awesome. And then he started seeing he's really good in the ring too. At first she's like, oh, it's a cool gimmick, and like he can never have a title. Well, then he's got the title, and now you can never see him losing it.
And one thing you were talking about, Jeremy, and I wonder if it's kind of an AEW fear factor, if you will. And again, I know he's not necessarily an AEW guy, but I mean, he's been wrestling on Ring of Honor and other, AEW things. Let us see his personality. Put him on the mic, and if he gives us a 5-minute promo and that's horrible, okay. And they kind of have the same problem with Wardlow. It's like they're afraid to let Wardlow have a personality, so they keep pairing him with either Cody or Arn or somebody because they're like, but I think Wardlow has a fine personality, and he might not be able to carry a 22-minute promo like CM Punk or Adam Cole, but very few people can. But you can't get to 22 unless you do 5, and AEW is not giving these guys the chance to do it. So Zack Sabre might be able to have that kind of development if they give him a chance in American wrestling, which we just haven't seen. They just let him wrestle, which is obviously very entertaining, and his style is it just looks so violent. I mean, when he wrestles, it looks like he is really dislocating arms and things like that. I don't think I'd want to be, dealing with that on the entertainment side, being stretched like he stretches his opponents, because it looks absolutely brutal.
I thought at this point last year when they brought him on the Forbidden Door, he was a little hotter than he is right now. And maybe that's just because I'm with you, Matt. I don't follow New Japan very often. I don't follow much other than AEW and WWE. But I thought last year when he came over, he really had some momentum, and I thought that might have been the time to bring him on and do that. And I don't know if you can do it now or not. But I just think I'm with you. I think working wise, he'd be fine. But if they're going to do it, they're going to have to give him a chance, because I don't know, man. Like, as much as I want to say, yeah, he could be a great one, I just don't know if he could yet, because you're right, they haven't given him a chance to yet.
Kyle, you got any thoughts on this match?
It was a good match. I enjoyed it. Love Orange Cassidy. I wasn't very familiar with Zack Sabre Jr. He impressed the hell out of me on Sunday. I'm not a big fan of the joint manipulation wrestlers like Shayna Baszler and Pete Dunne. I'm not a huge fan of them because it hurts me to watch them.
You mean Butch? Just kidding.
It hurts me to watch them twist and contort these arms, and it it's uncomfortable for me to watch, but that's nothing. That's not to take anything away from. He's fantastic at what he does. It's just not my style. I'm just not a fan of it. But I do think he's fantastic in the ring. I'm with you, Brett. I think I heard you say an Orange Cassidy and Zack Sabre Jr. 1-on-1. I would take my money. That would be a fantastic match. I think it was the right outcome. Daniel Garcia was gonna take the pin from the start. I like Daniel Garcia. I think I like the way he wrestles. I like Daniel Garcia. I don't know much about the other guy.
The sports entertainer had to take the pin, right?
Yeah, he had to. I think that it was the right outcome. Orange is going to lose that title at some point. I don't know to who, because I thought he was going to lose it these past couple of times. I'm not sure who he's going to lose it to, but he will lose it soon. But big fan of Orange Cassidy, and I thought it was a great four-way match. Everybody got their stuff in, and it all looked good.
You're losing that 60-man World War III Royal Rumble triple ring match at Wembley.
That involves aliens.
Yeah.
And an alien will take it.
That Leonard's going to take it?
Oh, wow. See, you went there.
Oh.
That's his best friend. Literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the next match, guys, we're probably going to talk more about the after of the match than the actual match. I mean, it was solid. You got Sonata versus Jungle Boy. Jack Perry. I guess he's no longer Jungle Boy. I don't know that for sure, but pretty sure they won't be doing the whoa. I guess that's probably done for. That whole crew is either gone or now heel. But I think we talked about this, and Jereme specifically was getting bored with the character. I think we all kind of had, what is Jungle Boy now? Is this you put him in these title matches? This was back-to-back title matches basically for him. Did he deserve those title matches? He really hadn't done anything to deserve them. He's been hanging out with Hook, and he dismantled Hook after the match. And my favorite thing about this was Taz's reaction, guys. He was on commentary, and he really sold that he was pissed off, basically, that he had just attacked his son on air. I mean, that was not that we were surprised. I kept waiting on it to happen. I was like, well, maybe they're not going to do it tonight. And then they finally got up halfway up the ramp, and it happened. So anybody else got any thoughts on this whole match / turn here?
Well, it made sense why they gave him the match now, to see what happened, right? Like they used it as I thought it was not odd, but after the fact thing, okay, they used it to, one of the few things they used to move forward an AEW storyline on this pay-per-view was this. I told you on the show last week, like, you have to do something with the guy. Like, you can't take him serious. And now my concern is, if you turn him heel and you're doing this, are you doing it just to bury him against Hook? Or are you going to finally, are you going to take down Hook a notch, who I think Hook gets a lot of love. And Hook's a guy that everybody wants to see more of, right? So now my concern is who's going to look bad in this thing? Because somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose in the deal. And I think it's more detrimental to take Hook down than it is to take Jack Perry down. I mean, even though the guy just came off a world championship match, who has the bigger future with AEW? You would think it would be Hook, in my opinion. And you guys may disagree, but it's good for him to turn him heel finally. Now there'll be some interest in what he does. The stupid song will be gone now, and maybe the stupid boots and the trunks will be gone. But I didn't know this was coming. I didn't really think it was coming this soon. But when I said it last week, I guess they heard me. TK was listening, but it made sense then. The match, he didn't belong in the same ring as Sonata. I didn't think. I thought Sonata was better, but now you kind of know why he was there.
Yeah, it's so much to say, Jereme, and I just disagree with almost all of it. So I don't know where to get my steel chair out. You're becoming the new KO here. I mean, KO and I are the top of the heap, and you're begging for one more win in the pre-cut when we're talking about who's winning. But what has Hook done to make you think this is a star? I mean, he's Taz's kid. I mean, it's like, do you think Brock Anderson is a future superstar? Arn Anderson's kid. I mean, what has Hook done? He doesn't even talk. I mean, he's just, he sits out there, looks like Gothic Sting at 19 or something, You know, he looks like he's 5'8" and 180 and can do a couple of suplexes. What about that to you just screams this is a future star?
The fact that think about the crowd reaction he gets, and he doesn't talk, and he hasn't done any of that yet. If you're going to look at those two and tell me which of the two has the star potential, you want to tell me honestly you think it's Jack Perry?
I think the way they've developed it, absolutely. I mean,
No.
I think that okay, could Hook go to WWE and do anything other than NXT job?
But neither could Jack Perry.
Jungle Boy, yeah.
Neither could Jack Perry. And that's
Yeah.
the thing, like, that's the great thing about AEW is those guys have a spot and they have a role. I think if you were to poll AEW fans, they would rather watch Hook than watch Jack Perry. That's my opinion.
Well, Diggs, hey, real quick. So not the last AEW thing went to, but last May, who was the second most over? First most over person at the AEW event was Acclaimed, right?
Right.
Who was second? The second loudest pop of the night was Hook. Because Tony Khan came out the ramp. It was like not even during the actual. It wasn't even during Rampage. It was like during just the dark part. And Tony Khan came out there and said "send," and the whole crowd went nuts. And that was a year and a half ago now. But I think he's only gained. I mean, he's the same character, but now he's by himself. Well, I mean, he was with Jungle Boy, but he's not with Taz and them anymore, or like the group that they were with Brian Cage and all them. But just at the end, he was already he was like the second most over, and I feel like it's grown. So, but I agree with Jeremy on this. I don't know if Hook's gonna be a star, but I think we've always said we don't buy into Jack Perry, and now he's in 2 world title matches, and hopefully even as a heel, hopefully never again. But
Hook's never going to win a world championship, right? Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying out of these two guys, one of them's going to lose and going to be knocked even further down the totem pole. And I think that you can't do that to Hook the way because I think they've built him up great. And I know Diggs, he hasn't wrestled a lot. He doesn't talk, all those things. But in the way they've done it, he's kind of become like a guy that people want. I mean, even this past December when we were all there in Garland, I thought that he was still pretty over when he came out. I mean, without doing anything. So I don't know, man. I think that he's got the brighter future of the two with AEW.
All right, Kyle. We're waiting on Kyle's opinion. I'm just chomping the bits to hear what Kyle has to say. If he's going to go on Team Matt or is he Team Jeremy?
I don't know. Me and Matt have been getting along this podcast, so I might have to side with Matt just to keep the good graces there. And we're right next to each other on the screen, so I don't want him reaching across and make a contact. I like both of them. I like Hook. I want to see more from Hook. I want to see him go through longer. I want to see him have a 15, 20-minute match.
And he's about to.
But most of his matches have been 5 minutes, squash matches pretty much. I want to see more out of Hook. I think Hook has a lot of upside. Jungle Boy, to me, with his babyface run, hit a wall. There was nothing else he could do. He wasn't going to win a championship. He had already done the tag team stuff. I mean, I guess you could send him after the international championship, but he's not going to beat Orange Cassidy for it. So I think they needed to do something with Jungle Boy. My question is, let me throw this at y'all and see what y'all think. Jungle Boy rejoins Luchasaurus and Christian, and here's why. Because he can look at what Christian has done for Luchasaurus. Well, Luchasaurus, I'm going to put this in quotations, has a TNT title. So he can look at that and say, well, Christian got my best friend a world championship. I haven't been able to get that on my own. Let's squash whatever beef we had. Christian, get me a title. And after Luchasaurus won the TNT title, Jack Perry tweeted out, congratulations, ... I think Jungle Boy is going to join Luchasaurus and Christian and create a little faction.
I hope he does. I hope he does, because the only people more irrelevant than Jungle Boy are Christian and Luchasaurus. Seriously.
I thought Christian was holding that title. Is he not? He's not the champion, because I could have swore that was what he said on there.
I'm also waiting on Luchasaurus to turn on Christian. Because Luchasaurus is gonna be like, I won that title.
So,
you didn't do anything.
Here we go.
It'll happen. It'll happen on Rampage one day.
Christian Cage is going to recruit Jungle Boy to get his back when Luchasaurus turns on him, and then he takes Jungle Boy under his wing and tries to win him a title.
I just hope TK has an idea on what to do with Jungle Boy. That's my thing. I think he needed this heel turn, but where do we go from here? If
He's
this
about to
just
challenge for the
spirals into
FTR
nothing,
title.
FTW. He gonna carry around the FTW title for a while.
FTR, yeah.
another
Yeah,
meaningless title in the company, just like the TNT title, meaningless.
I like what you're thinking, KO, and but sometimes we're staying relevant together. But I'm thinking back because when I was really trying to process Jeremy's point about Jungle Boy, and I agreed that you kind of hit the wall, and because they tried to break him up, but put him. I wouldn't hate him back with Luchasaurus. That was an entertaining team, Jurassic Express. I didn't even hate Marco in there. I would love to see heel of Jurassic Express versus like FTR. I mean, there are so many things that I would be okay. I want to see that. I want to see that. Jack Perry versus any of the faces or any of the heels in the mid card. I don't have much of an interest in that. And he might have some good matches against a Swerve or something, but put him back with Luchasaurus. KO might be onto something. He just might not be somebody.
Whoa! Stop the press.
He just might not be an individual wrestler.
Well, you're right. He's not, and I'm with you. If you put them together, yeah, I can't. It's weird right now, honestly.
I gotta tweet that.
But the problem is that you say you're not interested in him against mid card guys. He is a mid card guy. Like we talked about this a few months ago when he got the title match. We all said Jack Perry's a mid card guy. Like he can't. Okay, great, and Hook may be too, but. The point is, these two are about to go at each other. He's going to get that 15-minute match like we were talking about. We're about to see which one of them can work. And we've seen Jack Perry in those situations. Him and Luchasaurus together as a tag team. Did anybody really take them seriously? I know they were getting title shots or they were title, whatever, but like, I don't know. It's less believable that they're champions than Orange Cassidy's a champion. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not a big Jack Perry fan. I don't like what they've done. It hit a wall for a reason. It hit a wall because nobody cared about it anymore.
Well,
so my opinion.
Does he sell you with Luchasaurus as a heel team?
No,
them two together better than him by himself as an individual.
Better than him by himself, but they're going to take on the moguls. They're going to take on Swerve's moguls on Rampage every week. Is what it's going to be.
Well, you got to do something with him, right? He's got to go somewhere. So if he's not a top, you don't like him in the mid card by himself, then stick him with somebody and have a feud with another heel group. At least he has something to do. I mean, if you do stick him by himself, I mean, I'm kind of with you guys. I'm not like at first I was like, oh, it's cool music. After the first 2 or 3 times I was over that, whole thing. And then, then the whole feud with Christian and Luchasaurus, that was entertaining because they were like, so good friends and all that. But then they kind of got lost once that feud was over and he kind of just, they didn't have anything else for him. It's like they didn't know what to do with him. And so then he's been teamed with Hook. He teamed with some other people. He's kind of jumped around and formed different tag teams with different people. And then they threw him in the 4 Pillars match where he had no business being. Then they threw him in this title match where they had no business being. And I don't know if was to try to make him down on himself where he just got so ticked off he turned heel. Like y'all said, maybe that's where they were going with that. But now, I mean, maybe he feuds with Hook this feud, but after that, he just needs to find someone to join. And I just don't think by himself that Jack Perry, I don't buy it by himself as a heel or a face, honestly.
The one final thing I'll say about this before we move on is when Jack Perry was relevant in AEW, the roster was a lot less talented and a lot smaller than what it is right now. I mean, let's be honest. When AEW was first starting, they needed a guy like Jack Perry because he was on there every night. He was wrestling every week, and now they don't need that. And that's kind of the unfortunate part for him is he hasn't been able to elevate himself to that top level, and I don't think he ever can. But now he's going to be more and more irrelevant because they just continue to bring top guys in, top guys. And he's going to be a good worker for him. He'll carry matches for them when they need him, but he's not a guy that they can count on. I think is going to be in the title picture of any title, honestly.
And I'll give you my last word. I think Luchasaurus is a hell of a hand. I think he is a talented wrestler, and I enjoy watching him work.
He was better on Big Brother.
We all got that one correct. The next one we all missed: Team Elite versus Team BCC. Man, this was another just crazy match. I think to me it was really strange not having Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson in this. You added a couple of Japanese wrestlers, which they did fine. You had the whole thing with Kingston Moxley, that dynamic in there was interesting. But then you had Kingston, wanted to kill the Elite too. I mean that whole thing was interesting. But long story short, Team Elite got the win, even though they were arguing at the end. Thought Kingston was going to deck the Elite on the way out. But solid match, guys. I think this one could have been where I said top 3 earlier with the 4-way. This one was right there with that one. I just enjoyed the interaction of the 4-way a little better than this. If this would have been a blood and guts match or something more than just this 10-man tag, I thought that was kind of I said an easy way out of this match. I wanted something stipulation, some kind of let them brawl around the arena match, let them fight in the concession stand. Give me something crazy for this 10-man. Was it Anarchy in the Arena? Something cool. The 10-man tag for me kind of just, I was okay with it. But overall, it was a really good match. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. That's what that would have put it over the top for me, is giving it some kind of extra stipulation.
Remember last year in this match, it was for who would have the advantage in blood and guts. And this is what they were wrestling for at that point, which we're going to get that, I think, pretty soon, too. I thought a couple things interesting after the match. Kingston and the Elite going at it, obviously, but also the announcers even made a point to mention that Takeshita was not with them in the group after the match, that he was kind of walking away on his own. The lack of Don Callis in the match, all those things are interesting to me. And what does it mean for Takeshita? Is he going to be back? Is he in the Blackpool Combat Club, or is he not? Or what is that status? And then my man Ishii, that dude looks like a tank, and he acts like a tank. I could watch that guy all the time. He's not even a great worker. Well, he may be a great worker, whatever. I don't even care if he's a great worker or not. I just want to watch him, because anybody built like a freaking pit bull that can do like that is pretty crazy to me. Ishii is my favorite Japanese wrestler of all time. Put it on the record. I don't care.
Man, I disagree with you a little bit, Bret, just because of the idea that even though they didn't have that stuff, they told multiple stories as part of this match. I mean, just thinking of Eddie, and I hate how out of shape Eddie looks. I mean, he looks horrible. Like, why are you even taking this seriously? But he's such a good storyteller. I mean, the whole conflict with, I can't let you hit, I'm going to fight him, but I can't let you hit John Moxley, and then at the end with the kind of how that played out, and then even like what you said, with Takesha, whatever, to take a shit or whatever his name is, MJF calling him that, whatever, however you pronounce that. I thought they did a great job telling stories and giving these 10 people a platform to tell their story in this match without making it a big deal. So I think, given what my expectations going into it and what they produced, I came away, instead of underwhelmed, a little bit overwhelmed. I was impressed with how they advanced different elements of the story, and nobody even looked bad, at the end of the day. So I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match, and it's funny. The super kick is one of the that and the spear, like two of the most overused moves in wrestling. But outside of the Usos, nobody makes a super kick look cool as like the Young Bucks do when the Usos have them top, but the Young Bucks is just fun watching them super kick the crap out of everybody. And then I think one of the most surprising things is that Ishii got the pin. I mean, I think that I was like, I'm with Jereme on that. He was fun to watch. I don't really know I don't follow these Japanese guys much. I know Okada and a couple of the others, but I knew who he was, but I've never sat down and watched matches of him. And I was like, I mean, that guy's fun. Now I'm gonna have to go look for his matches. Here comes Kyle.
Oh, it's not me now.
Yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
Tag in.
I appreciate you. I thought it was a good match. It was entertaining. I think this is Tony Khan's way of putting everybody on the card, which I don't like. I think that you don't have to put everyone on the card every single pay-per-view show. It was a fun match, though. I'm with you, Brett. I wish there would have been some type of stipulation, whether it be anarchy in the arena, something crazy other than just a 10-man tag. But it was entertaining, and I think off of this you can start so many different storylines off of this 10-man tag, which I think is exciting. Now, what TK does with it, I have no idea. But there's many options, and that's all you can ask for. There's plenty of options on what can happen. I was surprised that the Elite won, but I think, Matt, you said this earlier. After Omega lost to Ospreay, they had to give the Elite something. They can't just let the Elite go out there and with Danielson winning on over Okada, that's why BCC could afford the loss, because he's still technically part of BCC. So it all makes sense afterwards. But yeah, definitely got that one wrong. But I was entertained by the match overall. Not as much blood as I thought there was going to be with the John Moxley match. So that was interesting. But overall, it was a good match, though.
I'm going to challenge Jereme as again. I'm just him and I are going to have our own little cage match as far as that goes. But
I'm just glad it's not
with all
me.
these NJPW guys, Zack Saber's probably the best worker, but Suzuki, whoever that was the Jericho's partner, I was very entertained by him the whole match. So give me some more of him and not the other the tank.
No, I'm not. This is kind of we haven't talked about it. But what did y'all think about the commentary? I like the commentary. They had Kevin Kelly in there. He's got the New Japan experience. I thought overall they kind of mixed the guys in, and I thought the commentary was very good.
Well, the only reason they mixed is because Tony Schiavone took Taz's spot after Taz had to leave after Jungle Boy. It was Kevin Kelly, Excalibur, and Taz, and then Tony Schiavone took over.
It was a mixture of your Collision and your.
Oh, okay. I really thought they were going to rotate some guys, but.
And I know I was critical of the commentary on Collision, just because I wasn't a huge person of Kevin. Like I didn't know exactly who Kevin Kelly was exactly, but I don't think him and Nigel meshed very well on Saturdays. Now again, that could get better, but I really enjoyed Kevin Kelly Sunday night with Taz and with Excalibur. I think they fed off each other. They were taking little jabs at each other too. I really enjoyed the commentary.
I thought that was the best three they could put together with Kevin and Excalibur and Tony. I thought they were great the whole night. I mean, once Taz, I thought they were good when Taz was there. I mean, I'm maybe one of the few I like Taz on commentary. I mean, he's not, but Excalibur has proven that he can work with anybody. I mean, he is able to work with Jim Ross, and not Jim Ross of 15, 20 years ago, but Jim Ross of 2023. So. I thought the group was good. I really like Kevin Kelly. Now, the more that I've heard him now in the last couple of weeks, I'm a huge fan of what he does.
Yeah, I agree, and I like how some, and maybe this is by design or maybe not, but he kind of likes to poke the bear a little bit. Like he'll bring up some WWE stuff. Is he allowed to do that? Is he allowed to talk about that? It's almost like he takes delight in mentioning the crowd reactions. Like, well, maybe we're not supposed to talk about this, but we're going to talk about this a little bit. So when he's doing that, I enjoy him, and I think Nigel needs to still. I like Nigel in NXT. I thought he was completely underused there. So if they can get him comfortable and kind of understanding the storylines and telling that, they could have gold there at Collision. But again, 2 weeks into it, I mean, it's like Mike Adamle. You put him on Raw or something, it's horrible kind of a thing. I don't think we're at that level with this, but you got to give these people time to develop. You just can't expect perfection, and we as a ADHD world, we want instant gratification when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I didn't even know who Excalibur was, starting AEW.
Well, I was going to say, because I was going to say too, Matt, whenever they announced the commentary team, I was like, oh, JR and Tony Schiavone, oh, this is Excalibur guy. He was kind of the third add-in, but he's actually become like the lead guy. Like he's the main guy they use, and his voice is incredibly great. Like, he does a great job. And so I think that, to me, that's how I kind of saw it when the AEW first started. It's like you have those two big names, and you threw Excalibur in there, and it's like, they knew how good he was. They put him with two legends, and now they've kind of let him blossom into his own. And I'd say he's the best commentator overall that they have.
Yeah, I mean, he's the voice of the promotion for sure, right? I mean, even even though I still think Tony does good work, but it's Excalibur's voice that runs the show, in my opinion.
All right, next match we got Tony Storm, Willow Nightingale, for the AEW World Championship. This was an okay match. I mean, not much build to it. They've been kind of cross paths as far as storylines go with the whole Outcast. I think she's gotten spray painted a few times, but not a whole lot of build for this particular individual singles match. It was a fine match. Nothing special. I mean, it was just an okay match. We knew Storm was going to win. They're going to roll in her to Wembley. We'll see who she ends up facing. Probably Britt Baker, unless Hayter can come back, because Hayter's, I think she's from England or somewhere over there. So I think that would be the match that the crowd would love. But if she can't return, I think it's Britt Baker. But this match was fine. What'd you guys think?
Much like Bronson Reed is becoming a recurring storyline, I'm gonna have to build another storyline with Jereme here, because on our last episode, we had a little debate about Saraya and Tony Storm, and if he thought Tony Storm was a star, and he thought, I believe you did think she was, a star, but to me, I think she's like the Jack Perry of the women's division. She's just not that great as far as that goes. And Willow Nightingale, ragdolled her around, and she had to have a cheap victory. To me, Willow Nightingale was the star. I love the match. I showed my kids that match, and we were entertained by Willow Nightingale. What does Tony do? I mean, she doesn't even look believable in beating Willow. She had to do a pile driver after getting beat up for 20 minutes just to get a win. I don't get Tony Storm still.
Okay,
what does Tony do? Sweet cheek music.
Since you went first, it's going to look like I'm just cowering down to you, Matt. But here's what I want to say. I was wrong about one thing last week. I said that I didn't think Willow Nightingale belonged. Okay. And I still don't know if she deserves to be the champion, but I will say this. As I was watching the match, I thought she is a lot better than I gave her credit for, number one. And number two, for somebody that is, there's no great way to say this. She's very athletic. She is a lot more athletic than you would believe. And I was watching back yesterday, the episode I was showing my son some stuff we talked about last week, and KO even mentioned how she is like a man in the ring. And I was super impressed with her. I think that the opposite of the Jungle Boy reference, she has a future with AEW now that I'm sure they saw it. I didn't believe it. I didn't see it. But after Sunday night, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. I think she can be really good.
Wait a second. I think I was the one. I was high on Willow Nightingale as well last week.
You were.
Because I said that Mercedes Moné put her over, and they saw something in her, giving her that title, and you guys were all crapping on me basically for even thinking she had a chance in this match. I believe so. If we can go back and look at that.
You're right. You're right, Brett. You're right. We were on you about it. Maybe KO was trying to shake his head that he wasn't, but he kind of was.
Said she was a mid-carder. If I remember correctly,
wasn't that
she was a mid-carder. That was nothing else.
Time out. Wasn't this the incident where we said you said that she was going to be elevated, and that's where we got all on? Yeah, that's we never said that she wasn't good, and that's not why we were getting on you. We were talking about being elevated. And if you listen to what Matt just said, you can't elevate somebody if they go against somebody who's not very good. I love Toni Storm. I think she's great, but I also like Bronson Reed, so me and Matt are never going to agree on that. But I don't think Willow's elevated because of it. I think Willow's very good in the ring. She's very good at what she does, but I don't think she's elevated because of this match.
Someone referred to her as a mid-carder, I believe.
She is.
She can hold mid-card. She can hold mid-card or Japan titles. That's
I don't know, man. I'm not completely Team Bret at this point, but I'm closer to Team Bret than I was a week ago. Right? Like I thought she was really good Sunday night. Like
right, but Matt Diggs said that Toni Storm's like the worst champion we've ever had. He basically said Toni Storm's a mid-card champion too, and so
yes.
So here's the bottom line.
And Willow looked better than her.
We all disagree about this on some level. The point is, I'm going to admit where I was wrong, which was I didn't think Willow belonged in the match, and she belonged in the match. and I didn't think she belonged in the title picture. I think she does belong in the title picture. I think she is a lot better than I give her credit for.
And
The rest of you guys, you can deal with your own problems, but
she's got a good pop too. She gets a reaction when she comes out. She's got that upbeat music. That's why Matt's probably showing his kids, you know, that she's a kid friendly act that comes out. She gets the crowd. I'd kind of compare her, not on the same level, but the similar way to Bianca Belair in WWE. She's, you know, she's got the kid effect.
I got one for you better. Brett.
Right.
The original Bailey, the hugger Bailey.
No, that's it.
That's Willow.
Yeah. Okay. But that's what Bianca Belair is now, current WWE. That's why they don't want to turn her, because like my daughter loves Bianca Belair. She's so mad at Rhea Ripley right now for beating her. And so that's the kind of audience that she's hitting. So, you know, there's something there, I think. I'm not totally down on Toni Storm. I do think she's probably one of the, I don't say weakest, but non-impressive champions that AEW's had in a while. I think she's, to me, is she the third best in her own group and she's the champion, Matt?
Yeah.
No. Saraya is worse than Toni. I would take Toni over Saraya every day.
I'd take Toni over Ruby Soho.
No.
Yeah, Toni's the best.
I would take Ruby.
The best.
I would go Ruby.
Ruby can go in the ring.
Ruby, Toni,
Saraya, as far as like, she's there because she's a big star. Like you see her and you see star. She can talk. She's got that. She may not be able to go as well in the ring, but as far as star quality, you know, we just talked about CM Punk. That's not what sells her. It's her character. And Matt's shaking his head. That's kind of what you think, Matt, as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I actually just finished All Access from, May. I was just finally watching that, and they were replaying the her and Ty Conti's feud, and some of that stuff was just fantastic. And you will not see Toni Storm put on a match like that. And Ruby Soho generates that kind of counterculture anger, and she can go. So, I mean, in that group, Ruby Soho is way better than Toni, and maybe Toni can do that, and they just haven't let her. But I haven't seen a Toni Storm match where I just look at that and go, wow, she's a good wrestler, or wow, she's even got potential to be a good wrestler. She's just kind of a pretty face who they've kind of put a rocket on her, and where does it go? I just don't see it with her.
Yeah. It's definitely controversial. We'll see how it goes over the next couple of months and who gets that next shot. It'll be interesting to see that. But the next match, I'm excited to talk about this next match. Match of the card, match of the year, match of what I've ever seen in my entire life, maybe. I mean, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. And it's like, who killed Kenny? Thankfully, he's okay, but that was the ugliest Tiger Driver 97 or 91 or whatever I guess it's not. It depends on their birth year. I've kind of figured that out. So whatever year they're born is what they use. I think it's 91. But man, was that nasty. When I sent that back to you guys and y'all watched it, I mean, did your stomach just kind of curl up like mine did?
It was nasty when it happened. You know, I remember when it happened live, I thought, oh my gosh, like he might, well, especially with injury history, like the guy might be dead. You know, I hate to even go first here and let Diggs tear me apart for this, but I texted you guys, and when I said this, I can't think of a match in my life that I thought was better than that I watched. I mean, truthfully, recency bias is a factor, right? But I think that I thought Ospreay and Cassidy last year was a great match, and while I like Kenny Omega, I think the guy's great, but I'm not a super Kenny Omega fan necessarily, but I think he's, Sunday was phenomenal on both ends, and I think Ospreay is the guy that if I'm, we kind of joked about the tweet WWE wanted to make him Dom's assistant, but the dude's about to make a bunch of money whenever he's available, because he can carry any company that he wants to. And I just the best match in AEW history, right? In the short history. I can't think of one better. I was blown away by it the entire time watching it, and when it was over, you just kind of sat back and like, holy crap, like that needed to be last.
I was just
Obviously-
waiting for like the next spot, Jereme. It's like that they're gonna top that. Oh my gosh, it's just kind of like one after the other.
For all the bad crap we have to watch in wrestling, there's a lot of bad out there. That was really good. And I think you could take people who don't even like wrestling and show them that match, and they'd be like, okay, that's pretty good. And so for somebody who watches it, I'm not sure I'm a student of it, or I'm not sure I'm a history buff of it, but it was if I could watch that every day for the next however long, I think I'd watch it. I mean, it was unbelievable to me. And one of the, if not the best match I've ever watched, it was definitely top 2 or 3. I can't think of any that even rival at this point. I made Matt leave.
And then a lot of matches you watch, you're like waiting, you're like ready for them to end, or you know when they're going to end. That one you didn't want to end, and you didn't know when it was going to end. I mean, and I think the best part is you love the false finishes, the 2 counts, but the best part, or one of the best parts, was when when Will did the 1-winged age on Kenny, and he kicked out at 1.
At 1, yep.
And it was like, I mean, that was like 45 minutes in too. It was like late in. It wasn't like early he did that. It was late, like, oh, this is it. And he kicked out at 1. It's like, could this get any better? And then like everything else had already happened. It was already like a terrific match. And then that happened, and then they just kept going. I mean, there were still more kickouts after that. And it was just one of those things like you didn't know when it was going to end, because every time you thought it was going to end, it kept going. And then you were like, well, I don't want this to end. But also, I think Kyle said something about he thought it was going to be a draw. And I was like, I don't want it to end in a draw. Like, because we thought Ospreay was going to win, get the title back. And it's like, I feel like it would have been cheapened a little bit if it ended in a draw, but just a fantastic match. And, I was the same way, Jeremy. I've still been, the last 2 days, I've been trying to think what matches I've seen is better. And I've thought of a couple up there, and I'm like, but I don't know if they're better. Like that. I mean, that's one of the best.
What about even
best I've seen.
What about even Ospreay like playing to the crowd, getting the Canadian flag and like wiping himself with it and playing? I mean,
and then licking Kenny's blood off his arm,
telling a story even in the middle of the match. I mean, that's to me just extra on top that adds that much more to the amazing action in the ring.
Real quick, Brandon.
Yeah, I want to watch him every week.
Yeah, real quick, Brandon. You mentioned the draw part of it. When they actually announced how much time was left, I didn't hear it at first how much they said. I thought, okay, we're about to get a draw, because very few matches do you hear them announce the time left. And then when I didn't hear it was 30 minutes, luckily Tony came on and said that. But the first thing I thought was we're going to get another draw, which perfect. If you want to have a draw, fine. We'll go back to Wembley and we'll do it again. I think that's what they're going to do, and I think I can't wait.
But I want to go back to Wembley. Yeah, but I didn't want the draw.
No, I'm with you.
Because now we're going to get a rubber match.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Man,
but it would have been great no matter what. But it's better that we had a winner.
I wish Bret had me a thunderstorm cloud or something, because we need me to have the thunderstorm coming in here and just completely raining on this, because and I have to put a little bit of nuance. It was a fantastic match. I would rate it maybe a 4.5 star kind of a match, but y'all are talking best match ever, elite, kind of just that next level.
That's your new.
When I think of kind of what I consider one of the best matches ever, I think of Undertaker HBK at 25, WrestleMania 25. And even though there were some false finishes in that, it was believable. This had so many false finishes in it, it became unbelievable at that point. Like, we know this is fake. How much are they just going to continue to play this out? The Don Callis thing completely lowered the quality for me as well. There was a point where when they stabbed him with the screwdriver and you thought you were going to get the pin, if it would have ended there, I would have been happy. That would have been believable. But the fact that it took another 4 or 5 finishes after that to finish it off completely ruined it for me. The whole lack of ideas with Don Callis being brought back out after he was kicked out lowered it a level with me. There's just elements of it I did not like, while completely understanding this was a fantastic match that told multiple stories within the match, but it was too much.
I agree with you, Matt. That's what I was going to bring up, is the Don Callis effect really aggravated me, because I think this was a 10 out of 5 stars. Like, it was, I loved the match. I don't like the fact that Callis got ejected from ringside. So basically now anybody gets kicked out of ringside, you can just come back and
they said something about he would get fined, but Who cares, right?
Who cares? What's the point in kicking somebody out of ringside if they could just come back like that? I'm with you on that, Matt. That's if there's one thing that I did not like about this match, it's Don Callis being involved. Now I get it with the whole Ospreay and Omega and Don. I get it, but if he gets kicked out of ringside, in my mind, he's done. Like that's Callis is out of this.
So what they should have done is they shouldn't have kicked him out ever. If they're going to do this spot,
no,
or they kick him out.
Well, if you're going to do this spot,
after he does the spot, then kick him out. Don't kick him out and then have him come back because it lowers the integrity. So, like, are there any rules? Like, it's kind of a WWE thing that we talk about a lot, where somebody does something and then they just, well, then why do we even have rules? Like,
but here's the thing.
Well, and what makes
go ahead, KO.
What makes it more unbelievable is Don Callis is holding Ospreay against the ropes, and the ref, instead of getting security or somebody out here to remove him, he starts trying to get Don Callis off of Ospreay. Well, at that point, if you're having to do all that to keep somebody out of the match, kick their ass out. Like, what are you doing? Like, why? What are we doing here? Like, that made no sense to me. And it took away from the match.
Here's the thing. I don't know if it took away from the match. It was unnecessary, right? Because ultimately, thankfully, Matt wanted this, but fortunately, it didn't affect the match. Like, it didn't have an impact on the outcome, right? Like, it happened. You get the near fall, he kicks out, and we move on. So even though Callis, that's the part about it I don't get. Why bring him back to do what he did and it not have an impact on the finish, right? Like, to me, that's the part. Okay, why'd you do it in the first place? The second thing is, I'm with you. Like, there's got to be some kind of clarification on what the rules are. Like, to me, if you get kicked, I mean, I'm a coach, right? If I get kicked out of the basketball game and I come back, they're going to stop the game. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Yeah. You can just come back and sit in the stands, Jeremy. That's the way. And coach from the.
I'm just going to tell you, we're going to try it in this basketball season. We're going to find out how it goes. I'll let you know. You'll see it on the Tyler Baker front page, I'm sure.
Well, I hope you don't.
Let me know what game it is so I can come to.
Well, it happened at Forbidden Door, so
yeah. So, but the point is, it was pointless, but I don't know if it took away from it because it didn't have an impact on the outcome. I think it was just eyewash, and I don't. To me, there was no reason in doing it, but it didn't take away from it, in my opinion. If that makes sense.
It shows how great the match is if that's what we're nitpicking.
Sure.
But what do you nitpick about Undertaker, Shawn Michaels? I mean, you don't. I mean, it was just, it just stood alone. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go back and go, well, what about this or what about that? Or they did a tombstone off the top rope through a table and he kicked out at one. Or, you don't have these kinds of crazy things like you had with this match that are just completely unbelievable at the point that they continue to happen. So I think at some point when you stab somebody in the head with a screwdriver and then you hit a super finisher on them, that's the end of the match right there. We don't need to, continue on after that.
Well, the ref was distracted a little bit. It took him too long to get over. That was kind of the part they sold. Like, it took him a little bit to get over there. So then he'd already counted 3, technically, so it would have already been counted. And then they had him count. They use that little trick there sometimes to sell that they would have been pinned, except for the ref didn't get over in time to count correctly. So that happened.
Why did we only have AEW officials, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
No, we had a couple.
There was Japan
Yeah,
officials.
we had a couple Japan ones.
But not in
The red suit.
not in the spots. Like, I mean, either way. Okay, maybe there were. I wasn't paying that much attention to it. But when it mattered, they weren't.
Right.
Well, if like the Sonata Jungle Boy match, they had a Japanese official because that was for.
Well, they announced the rules. Like, if it was a NWJP title or whatever, IWGP, whatever it is. They announced it and said that was they would go by their rules, and that's when they had the.
Yeah, so this match they probably should have had a.
Right. Yeah, you had Paul Turner in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have been Aubrey Edwards at least. Why didn't she get a match on the card? I don't know.
She's
too busy
dealing
wrestling
with Karen Jarrett because she
But-
hit her or something.
But Matt, I'll say this: Undertaker
We're
HBK would be up there. I mean, truthfully, like the more when you mention that, I think, okay, Undertaker HBK. Even give me Triple H and Undertaker. I mean, there's some matches at WrestleMania moments that we could put up there. Flair and Michaels, whatever. The point is, like I said, recency bias is a factor here for sure. I think Brandon mentioned that. We were texting back and forth about it, but there aren't many better. There may be some in that class, but there aren't many better.
AEW wise, we kind of agree that that's probably the best match in AEW history. I don't think.
I was trying to think. I'm like Brandon. I was trying to think of other matches that I've seen that are even comparable. Like I think that MJF and Bryan Danielson Iron Man match was phenomenal. I think the FTR and Briscoe's matches, the trio of those matches that they had were fantastic. But just overall, the story that went into this Omega Ospreay match, with Ospreay doing the same thing as Omega did to him at the Tokyo Dome, like that type of storytelling. I think Ospreay, for my money, best wrestler in the world. I would take him over Danielson or anybody. I love Will Ospreay. I think he is absolutely. He did a freaking backflip off the dude's chest. Like he's amazing. I really enjoy him. I don't want him to go to WWE because Vince would absolutely kill him. So I'm okay with where he's at. I would like to see him in AEW.
They give him some stupid gimmick and change his name and make him wear
but I love Will Ospreay, and I think the match going into it, I said this on our prediction show. I said going into it, you could give me the Ospreay Omega match, only thing on the card, and I would pay $50 for it. That match alone was worth the price of the pay-per-view. I will. That's one I'll go back and watch. I've very rarely go back and watch old matches just because like I've seen them once, I've seen it. But I will. If I only had to watch one match the rest of my life, I would watch this one.
It was pretty good.
And I think you bring FTR Briscoes was probably better because it didn't have all of these weird questions at the end of it. You know, they didn't have 5 false finishes where it's just, you know, super finishers and Don Callis questions and all that. Again, you could have taken that out and then it would have been the perfect match. But again, and I get that that's why I only have it as a 4 or 5, 4.5 star, because if you're going to call 7-star matches or some of these crazy things you'll see Dave Meltzer do, they have to stand on their own. And there's so many things you can go, what about this? What about this? That just keeps it from being that level of that kind of 5-star match, because those things should not exist in that kind of a match. And maybe they'll have a reason for why it happened, but it cheapens it. From
good
that
news
kind
is, Matt, the good news is we'll probably see it again here in a few months in Wembley. And maybe that's why they did this shenanigans here. Maybe that the third time's the charm for you.
I would love to see that match again at All In. I would absolutely love it.
KO's flying to London.
If I could, I would. Absolutely. Hey, maybe we could all chip in and get one ticket, and one of us could be a correspondent over there.
Oh.
He wants it to be him, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
I just think here's my thing, and I know that it's hard to just say this and go by it. To not call it a 5-star match because of all these small things, to me, is nitpicking a little bit. Just if you just sit back and enjoyed it and watched it and appreciated it for what it was, it's a 5-star match. And then you've taken the other things into consideration, whatever. I'm not Dave Meltzer. I'm not trying to give it a rating. I'm just telling you as a fan watching it, I'm not sure what else I could have gotten out of it other than what it was. And that's, all the other things involved in it, considering, I still think that's how I feel about it.
Jereme, you're a teacher, and if you're a teacher and you have a rubric and the rubric, you have a great paper, but the rubric misses a part, are you going to give it 100 just because you like the rest of it, or are you going to deduct for what's wrong?
But to me, as a fan, it wasn't wrong. That's the point. Like,
it was. Who looked at that? Who looked at the Don Callis stuff and said this is necessary to tell the story?
No, I said I don't think it was necessary, but I don't think it took away from it. Like, to me, I could have done without it. But
they had to use it after they teased it the entire 2 weeks before with Callis talking to Ospreay. We're going to get you security. He had to play something in it. They wouldn't have done all that in building up to the match. You knew.
Would the match been better if they kicked Don Callis out and he stayed out?
To me personally, no. To me, the match is what it was, and I don't even I don't care that was a part of it. Do I think they had to do it? No, but it doesn't it doesn't matter to me that it happened. Like it was.
You're hurting, Jeremy, because you know you're wrong. It's like you're saying it. You can see it in your eyes. You don't even believe what you're saying. I see Kyle over here nodding his head like, absolutely, you did. Kick him out, you tell the story, kick him out, let him go, and you're trying to justify something has no justification.
I think here's what happened. They kick him out. He comes back, and all of a sudden you think something's going to happen because the guy came back. Like the match.
And it did.
No,
I mean,
the result was not impacted one bit by him coming back.
He got
kinda
hit in the head
did,
with a
but-
screwdriver, Jeremy. I mean,
I was
come
about to say
on.
he did involve the screwdriver, which Ospreay wouldn't have had Callis
Okay.
not come back. But I'm with you though, Jeremy. This did not make or break
Exactly.
the match. Like to me, it's a 5-star match with or without Don Callis. It's 5 stars. Just if I want to be nitpicky because it's a 5-star match, if I'm nitpicking, I could have done without Callis coming back, but it didn't change the match for me.
It's still a 5-star, a 5-star, a 5-star.
But why nitpick? It's my thing. Like, why are we even nitpicking it? Just appreciate it. But here's the
Because
thing.
you have to nitpick if you're going to call it a 5-star. It's like saying you have a best friend.
I
like,
don't.
You got 3
because
best friends. I got my 4 best friends here. Do you know what the word best means, Jeremy? Do I need to go talk about the gimmick and other things from last week? 5 stars should be something you see once out of 1,000 matches that stands on its own, and that wasn't it. That was not it.
Well, we feel like it was.
Here's all I'm saying. Ospreay comes out and hits him with a screwdriver. If at that point they hit him with a screwdriver, he pins him, then yes, it had an impact on the match. The match went on for how long after that happened? I didn't time it. I don't know.
I think Diggs hates that part.
It was a rubber screwdriver. It wasn't real. That's why.
Okay. If we want to talk about stuff that's unbelievable and takes away from matches and talking about a rubric, you want to believe that a 6'10" guy has supernatural powers to beat Shawn Michaels? Like, come on, man. Like, it's wrestling. That's what we're doing. I mean, that's what we're talking about. The Undertaker is the most unbelievable thing in the history of wrestling. Okay, maybe not the most. It's one of the most unbelievable things in the history of wrestling.
That's the fun of suspending disbelief.
Okay, so let's suspend disbelief and just call it the best match you've ever seen.
I mean, at what point are you just going to let people kick out just to kick out? I mean, are we going to have this like 8-star match just and have 120 finishers in a row and just be like, well, they're never going to die, and then have a 60-minute draw and just have the ultimate finisher 60-minute match where you hit your finisher through 20 barbed wire fire tables and nobody ever loses? Because why do we need to lose in wrestling?
Matt,
why do we need to lose in wrestling?
We're talking about a sport.
Everybody participation trophies on Jeremy's basketball team so we can all feel good about ourselves.
You legally assault, like you are assaulting people. You are hitting them with weapons. You are hitting them with a firework on your super kick. You're lighting people off. Kane has made a living out of and Undertaker burying people alive. What is it? If you want to talk about suspending disbelief, let's go on and on. Let's don't talk about this. Like,
why don't you
we all know
350-pound Diggs on your shoulders and let me hit you with a screwdriver and see if you can get up in 3 seconds after that.
If it was a scripted show, I wouldn't. Like, that's why you have to appreciate it for what it is. You have to appreciate it for it. You have to appreciate it for what it is.
I need to appreciate a 5-star match for standing on its own. That's what I want. I'm saying it's really good, but that doesn't make it a 5-star match when you have those kind of shenanigans. It lowers it to like that next tier. You can't have that kind of stuff in a 5-star match. And if you're defining a 5-star match like that, you're basically saying, well, I'm going to make justifications for bad behavior because I like the kid on my team. No, it's got to stand alone. It doesn't stand alone. That's all I'm saying. It did not stand alone. I'm calling it a 4.5-star match, a top 3 match of the year kind of a thing. But those shenanigans take away from it necessarily. They have to. It did not need to be there. It did not need to be there.
This is like KO turning down a 10 at the bar because her toes are too long. I mean, come on, man. Like,
but that would freak you out, wouldn't it?
I would call him an idiot. I would call him an idiot that he's turning down a 10 because her toes are too long.
On this girl, and you're out.
If it's a 10 and she's got sloth toes, that's fine with me. She's still a 10.
Thank you.
But she's not a 10 at that point. And you're not going to take her to your family with Groot toes.
Put some shoes on. Put some shoes on.
Yeah. Socks and shoes on, we're good to go.
Well, I've lost my breath here, y'all. Let's move on to the next match because I don't think no matter of conversation is Diggs and Jeremy are going to agree on this one tonight.
You're welcome for the views, by the way, Bret.
Oh, we got Team Sting versus Team Jericho This one was one we had split here. Me, KO, and Matt had Team Sting, and well, look, Jeremy and Matt didn't agree on this either. We have Jeremy had Team Jericho.
Like everything
solid.
else, I was right and he was wrong. But so here we go again.
Yeah,
I told you when I picked it, it all depended on what they were going to do next. I thought they were going to have another match, and I thought so Jericho would win and get this one. I don't know what they're going to do. I was wrong. I mean, I took a shot based on what I thought how they would book it, and I was wrong. But
what y'all think about Sting's Joker makeup?
That was
That was a
awesome.
little different.
took me back to 2011 watching Impact, but
Yeah.
no, I thought it was. I mean, I liked it. I like Sting. I've loved Sting ever since I was a little kid. Right, like he's the guy that I grew up watching. But it was cool to see those two. See those guys interact. I thought there'd be more between Sammy and Jericho. Maybe there'd be some kind of tension there, more so than it appeared. And Suzuki and Naito, those are two guys that I could kind of get into watching down the road a little bit. I thought they did a good job, but I wasn't.
I thought there would be more interaction between Sting and Jericho, and there wasn't a whole lot. Maybe you think they're holding that off for another match? I mean, they kind of got in the ring in each other's face, but they didn't really do a whole lot back and forth.
I still think ultimately Sting retires when it's Sting and Darby versus Jericho and Sammy. But Sting has come out this week and said he's not ready to retire. Like, I think some people thought it would be an all in. You'd put those four in the ring and all in, but he's kind of acted like that's not what he wants to do. He wants to stick around for a little bit. So I don't know. You're right, but I mean, there wasn't a lot of interaction between the two. But
I just thought maybe they're holding it for something else, maybe, because I was thinking that they kind of built it up as Jericho and Sting never been in the ring together, big deal. And then they kind of got face to face there. And then, how it goes. They get hit by somebody else and they get pulled different directions. They kind of teased it a little bit, not a whole lot of interaction. Like, there's going to be something else coming down the road between them.
That part was underwhelming for sure. But, I thought the match was what it was, and in a tough spot between, the big two matches of the night.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say what a lot of people are thinking, but, like Jeremy, we just don't have the courage to actually hold to our convictions in many things. But Sting does not need to be wrestling anymore. Like, he is not bringing entertainment. I mean, it's just not believable. It's like these kids have to slow down and baby him, and they have to make sure he's okay. Like, when Sammy hit the table spot on him, like he had to immediately go, "Are you okay?" It's like it's almost like he's like wearing these kinds of padded things under these shirts so he could try to take these bumps to be relevant still, and it's just not needed, and it's not. I don't like it anymore.
So you need a Double J versus Sting match. KO would be definitely for that one.
I agree with you though, Matt. I think there's no benefit to having him in the ring at this point. I don't think he's bringing anything beneficial to the table. I'm not sure Darby needs him. I'm not sure Darby ever needed him, but I sure don't think he needs him now. And God, the guy's what, 61, 62? Like, at some point, it's like the movie The Wrestler. Like, you gotta quit it, man.
Flair. I mean,
Same thing with Flair. I mean, if he would have left against HBK, that was kind of his peak. But everything after that is just cringeworthy. And this is very, Sting is getting into that cringeworthy for me anyway.
Well, luckily they don't put him in the ring a whole lot, so it's not as bad. And then, Kyle said something about Jeff Jarrett. They've been using Jeff Jarrett a lot more in the ring and stuff.
They don't need to.
Yeah.
This match was put in a horrible spot right after Omega and Ospreay. Me personally, I don't think there was anything that these men could have done in the ring that would have to me made this a great match. Like, just coming down off that Omega Ospreay match, and then it was kind of sandwiched in between the two best matches of the night, like you said, Jeremy. And I could have done without this match. I think it was leading up to it. The whole thing was Sting and Jericho, and they barely interacted in the ring. So I didn't care for it too much. I could have done without it, but I also think my opinion on the match is skewed a little bit because of how much I loved the Omega Ospreay match. Literally right before it, a 45-minute banger that now we have to have a 60-year-old out in the ring after that. I didn't care for it.
my two takeaway memories from that match, and it just kind of lets you know. And again, I didn't hate the match or whatever. I still love Jericho. Everybody singing a Jericho's theme song. I'm not tired of that. You know, him coming out is one of the best entrances. And then just that little scene where they did the sex gods thing, and you got, you know, and then here comes Suzuki right now and just smiling. I love that, and I'm going to remember that little element of the match more than any of the actual wrestling.
What did y'all think about?
I think for our next show, we'll do Suzuki's hairstyle.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did y'all notice that Sammy's botched cutter on Sting? That was one of the things that was kind of scary. I think they hit him around the head, and thankfully he was okay.
Well, it wouldn't be scary if he wasn't out in the ring wrestling.
Yeah, well, that's true, and that's one of the things you got to, you have to be extra careful with someone like that.
I don't even think he was supposed to take that bump from Sammy through the table. I think he was supposed to get off the table. I just think he didn't move in time, and so he got clipped by it. I don't think that spot was intended to land on Sting. I think Sting was supposed to get out of the way. That's just what I think.
And that actually brings up a point that I should have mentioned but you mentioning that cutter thing. Moxley's cutter in that 10-way match was the most RKO thing I've seen in a while. Like, that came out of that was fun. You know, that element of that match, but I figured I'd throw that out there.
The unfortunate part about Sting is since he went to WWE, his WrestleMania stuff was underwhelming. It's been underwhelming in AEW, and he's just getting the rub from his name, right? He's getting the pop from his name, and at some point that's going to go away, right? Like, I don't know when, and it's unfortunate that he's still trying to get in there and do that. And he says, like I said a minute ago, he said in the last couple of days, like, he doesn't think he's done anytime soon. He's got more in the tank. His tank's been empty for a while, and I love the guy. But
the best thing he's done at AEW to me was that cinematic matches that they did where they was pre-recorded, where they were like cut. Those were really cool with Sting. That was some of the best work because then they could hide some of the, age stuff. But other than that, I mean, I do think he's been good for Darby to a certain point, but I think that's kind of used up at this point. I think Darby's fine on his own. He's got his own character developed. He did kind of use Sting as a rub to get to the top, but I think he's pretty much got all he's going to get from Sting now.
Completely agree. I mean, Darby kind of stands on his own, and you have to think you're going to have a Darby Sting match, but that's going to be the most fragile. Like, Darby's not going to want to do anything to hurt him, kind of a thing, unless it's a protected spot. And I just can't see them going in any sort of entertaining match.
Darby's way too chaotic for that.
I don't think you'll get a one-on-one. I don't think you'll get a one-on-one with Sting ever again. I think his final match will be him and Darby together. That's why I think it's coming sooner rather than later, because I think they will be together when it ends. Just a matter of begins to.
Well, I think it would be perfect, Jeremy, to Jericho, because Jericho's been good about putting people over. I think he would put Sting over on his last match out the door. I think he's a good hand nowadays. Jericho still gets his wins and he's still believable, but I think they've got to be pretty good friends. I mean, they've been in the business long enough. I think that would be a cool moment for him to put Sting over one last time. You say bye-bye. Is that what you're saying, Kyle?
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's move on to this last match. So we still got to talk about the Money in the Bank as well. So we got Bryan Danielson and Okada. The big news out of this match is Danielson out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken arm. I didn't see it live. I think that says a lot for Danielson's toughness. I mean, you notice he favored it, but sometimes you know how much they like to sell those injuries and stuff like that. I didn't notice it. I kind of want to go back and watch the match to see if I can see where it is. I don't know if you guys did.
I heard somebody say today that it was on the elbow drop Okada did from the top rope. That's when I guess where he landed on Danielson, it just landed to the right spot and broke it.
I do know that it was like 10 minutes left in the match, supposedly, about whenever it happened.
No, 10 minutes into the match, not left. It was into the match.
So he wrestled a lot of the match with a broken arm. That's tough right there. And he was doing all those holds and stuff, the label lock and some other moves. Like, I mean, he's using his arms. I mean, it's not like he wasn't able to. I mean, that and then how good the match still was. It just shows how good a wrestler Bryan Danielson is. Now, coming out of this match, to me, the sad thing is I was looking forward to a possible blood and guts BCC versus Elite. Now that timeline, is he going to have time to get back? Now, since it is that kind of match, maybe he doesn't have to wrestle as much and he might be able to be in the match, but I guess we'll find out soon.
He could wear a titanium cast a la
there
Cody Rhodes
you go.
and be okay.
Yeah.
And he could use the cast to his advantage, Jeremy.
Because it's so believable. They're talking about July 19th being Blood and Guts. It's kind of what has come out the last couple of days about when they're going to do that when they're in Boston, I think. So it doesn't fit in.
Okay.
It doesn't fit in the timeline. But you're right. Kudos to Danielson for being able to work like he did. I thought the match, maybe it was because it was after Ospreay Omega, which we've talked about, but I felt it kind of ended uneventfully. Like, obviously, he puts him in a hold and he taps him out. I just felt like it ended in a weird spot, like maybe just, I don't know, like without much.
You got to wonder, though, if he called it, if he's like, hey, I can't go anymore.
Well, surely. I mean, it had to change the match to some extent, right? I mean, I don't know the exact time of the match, how long it was, and maybe how long they thought they could go, but I thought it ended in a way that now it makes sense to me a little bit. Like, okay, maybe he just couldn't do anymore, and they ended it the way they did. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't like, oh, we had to end it 7 minutes in,
Well, if we hadn't had the other match, then this match probably would look better, Jeremy.
Well, I mean, that's true, but
when you have a match like that, it's like after that, you're kind of just still in shock of what you just saw. And they did give you one match kind of to get back in, but by then you like, this is not anything like what we just saw 2 matches ago.
For whatever it's worth, I know pay-per-views and whatnot are a little bit different in this world, but I mean, the whole card was like 3 hours and 58 minutes. So I think they pretty much ended it when it was going to end anyway, because I don't think they're going to run it over 4 hours. So I think they filled their spot.
I was expecting a lot more going into the match. I think I was underwhelmed, to put it nicely. I was underwhelmed by the match, but watching the match, I didn't know that Danielson had a broken arm. So now, hindsight's 2020. Maybe that's why the match wasn't as good as I expected it to be. I think the right outcome happened. I think Danielson needed the win. I think this will get revisited somewhere down the road. Not in America, though. I think it'll be over in Japan where they redo this. But it was a good match. Overall, I thought the show was very good. It had some down spots in it that I didn't care for, but to me, for my money, Ospreay Omega was worth every penny, and it was worth the pay-per-view. I'm saying all that to say because I gotta go, but I will. I'll text the group my money in the bank.
Okay, so while we got you, then Kyle, some things that real quick, what you're looking forward to, Money in the Bank, and what match you're most looking forward to.
I mean, I think the Money in the Bank matches are the ones I'm looking most forward to, just because that's the gimmick. I don't even know the whole card, to be honest with you. I'm not. I'll tell you one match I'm not happy about watching, and that's Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio. Not looking forward to that one. But I do think the Money in the Bank matches, I think they'll be fun. I think the men's Money in the Bank is a little more wide open than the women's Money in the Bank, I think. So I think they'll both be really good matches. And that's, to me, that's what I'm looking forward to. It's kind of like the Royal Rumble.
So no,
like,
you don't care about the Civil War.
Oh yeah. Well, yes. Anything Bloodline related. That's, I forgot about that. Yes. Bloodline Civil War is the main thing I'm looking forward to on the Money in the Bank for sure. And the London crowd is going to be fantastic. And I'm looking forward to that.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Kyle, and we'll get your picks. I'll get them in writing. Make sure we don't. Matt will try to accuse you of cheating, so we got to make sure.
No. Me and Matt are we're best friends now.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, guys. All right, thanks, guys.
Without Kyle here, I'm gonna have to go heel turn on Brandon next, just to give me a little bit of a foe to play with here. Or you, Bret. I mean, I'm open-minded as far as who gets the steel chair. But I was
You
actually
don't.
agreeing with Jeremy on this as far as in KO. I feel like we're having this moment of love when it comes. You know, again, as somebody who's not an NJPW Japan watcher, you tell me this guy is the best in the world, but I don't know who this guy is. And Will Ospreay, they brought him over. They brought him over last year for the build for this, and we got to see him bang. So even if we don't know who Will Ospreay is from Japan, we got to watch him have some great matches with Aussie Open and other elements. This guy, I don't know who he is. So you're telling me he's the best in the world? He didn't look like anything special to me as far as that goes, and the announcers weren't telling me anything. Tony Schiavone asked, does he fly? Tony Schiavone doesn't even know who this wrestler is going in there. So it's just it could have been Bryan Danielson against some random dark jobber that they gave 25 minutes to, and it kind of does the same thing to me.
Well, I mean,
at least he had a cool entrance though.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the more famous ones. The Rainmaker entrance and stuff was cool. I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of his matches, but I know who he is just because, I have watched a little bit of New Japan in the past, not recently. More when it was the Bullet Club was kind of starting to form, and I would peek in over there because I enjoyed that storyline a lot. But I've seen him. He's, of course, I don't know how old he is, but he's been wrestling a while. So, again, unfortunate thing, Father Time never loses. So you can get up there, it's not going to be as good. I was glad to see them, if they wanted that match, I was glad to see them get that match. Unfortunately, Danielson gets injured, so maybe they'll get to run that back once he heals up, and maybe he goes and does that in Japan, like you said. But I think overall the match was solid, and the pay-per-view to me, we talked about coming in. This one was going to be more for the matches, not the storylines, because of the New Japan AEW crossover. And I think it delivered. I mean, the one match was, we talked about, amazing, but I didn't think there was any matches that were bad. All of them were solid. There were some that could have been left off, and I wouldn't have been okay with it. But every match was pretty solid. I didn't see a match that was just awful. Like Kyle said, I'm not looking forward to Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio. I think that one's Cody Rhodes will be great because he's in the match, but there's not any bummer matches. There was no bathroom break matches really for me. I think they were all pretty solid, and you had to stay tuned because you just didn't know what they were going to do. Some of the matches, there were some good spots and just things that you didn't normally see because you got to see wrestlers you don't normally see. So I think that, to me, that was a sale that, maybe you didn't know them, but you also didn't know what they were going to do. We watch these wrestlers every week. He's going to do that move and finish him. Well, these Japan wrestlers, we don't watch them enough so that we may not know when what their finisher is or what move they're going to do, and then they're going to do so it kind of left things up in the air to me. Even though we kind of knew some of the outcomes of the matches, I thought it was just a kind of different dynamic than usual.
I think it's always tough to do it the second time, right? The first time last year was the novelty of it. The first time it had happened, and we were interested in it for that reason. And I think it's hard to do it again, but they did. I thought it was a good pay-per-view also. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think there was any matches that were bad. I'm with you. There were some that could have been left off, but I think I'm thinking if I'm New Japan, am I hoping to get some more viewers out of this? And I just don't think that. I mean, I'm not more interested in watching New Japan now than I was before.
Unless you just want to watch Ospreay.
Well, right.
And how long are they going to be able to hold on to him?
Well, he loves it in New Japan. If you read anything that you hear him talk, he felt like, and they mentioned this during the broadcast, they felt like New Japan was his thing to handle and to mold during COVID and the quarantine and stuff like that and the lockdown. And I think he's in love with New Japan. I don't, the money will talk at some point.
Yeah, let me throw it this way. As a coach, you love Brook Hill, you tell everybody you love Brook Hill. That way they offer you more money. So the more they know they got to offer you more and more money. At some point, if you get that $1 million offer over here to somewhere else, I mean, money has to talk eventually.
I mean, the Mavericks call me, I'm going. Right?
Yeah.
And so I get, right. I mean, there's that aspect of it for sure.
So you don't want to say you're not happy because then you don't get as much money. If you're happy and you love it there, now they got to offer you more money to get you away from there. It's negotiating tactics. Could be. You never know.
It could be, but even though, like, for me, Osprey's something I'll find on YouTube or the internet or whatever, right? Like, it won't be something I'll tune in and watch New Japan to see if he's on there. I mean that, but it's a good show. I was sitting here thinking, would they ever move it and put it in Japan? I thought, no, the Japanese fans are so quiet that would be terrible to watch. It'd be terrible TV.
They just pump in crowd noise like WWE.
Well, that's true. That's true.
What about you, Brandon? Overall thoughts?
It was a good card. I mean, when you have the Omega Osprey that helped elevate everything, and it elevated it more than Willow Nightingale, and but it was a good card. Like, we knew, we kind of knew it was going to be good matches and not much for the stories. And I thought it delivered. I thought it was way better than the last pay per view they had. So,
all right, Matt, is he still with us?
I can't tell if he's there because I can't see him, but you can hear him every once in a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's in and out.
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah. I think Jeremy's jinxed his camera. He threw a hex across the screen. I kind of want to just let's move Jeremy and Matt next to each other so they can duke it out. Okay, let's move on. We'll get his thoughts here in a minute if he comes back on in just a second. We'll move on to the Money in the Bank. I look forward to this one. This is one of my favorite pay-per-views WWE does. I know you have WrestleMania, you have SummerSlam, but this one in itself, we got to go back. Matt and Jeremy need to be next to each other.
Can you hear me now? Am I back?
Yeah, you're good. We're give us your final thoughts on the pay-per-view. Then we're going to move on and talk Money in the Bank.
I was talking like right over you for like 30 seconds, and you just kept going. I was like, I guess y'all can't hear me or something. But a couple of elements that, just big picture. I'm giving you the caveat that I finished watching this last night, so I haven't seen Raw, and I haven't read kind of the internet's feedback on it. Like, so you told me Bryan Danielson broke his arm. I didn't know that. So anything like fallout of that, I don't know. I was shocked. Like, I guess Adam Cole's match got cut. You're talking about matches, could have been left off, and Adam Cole didn't even make the card. And I thought that was kind of shocking as far as, who they decided to do that. I enjoyed the card. Obviously, we're going to remember Will Ospreay and, and Kenny Omega for a while, whether you call it 4.5 stars or 7 stars or somewhere in between there. And it's funny because I remember people talking about Will Ospreay and Ricochet being like 4 or 5 years ago, those matches. So it kind of makes me want to go back and watch some of those matches to see how they measured up with this. I enjoyed it, but again, it was just wrestling. It was just good wrestling without storylines. And whereas we're about to talk about with Money in the Bank, this is going to be a very storyline driven card, as opposed to probably a card you're going to see a lot of good wrestling on. So I guess it'll be interesting to see in the fallout show of Money in the Bank which one we liked better and who did it better.
Well, Matt, you said you hadn't been following whatever. So Adam Cole actually had illness early in the day. Okay. That's why he got cut. They came out early that day, and we kind of we didn't get you in our group chat, but we kind of discussed it there about.
If he'd get an iPhone, Brandon, then he could.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, he's got that other thing, and so he's not able to. I tried to add him in, and it won't let me add him in our group chat. He's got that Android thing. For some odd reason. Yeah, I tried to add him in and not try to exclude him, but we got to convert him over.
And here I am on an iPad, so what can you do? Because my laptop doesn't work.
It's karma. See, that iPad, it's trustworthy, man. It's there. It's working. So, okay. So, basically, we'll start this. I've got an updated card. I think there may be some matches added. If we get some added, I'll message you out and let you pick during the week, because I think there may be a few added. I was reading along that there probably will be. We'll start with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We got Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, L.A. Knight, Santos Escobar, Butch, aka not Butch. I wish they would change this, guys. Who's with me? Can they not change? That's awful. It's awful. Pete Dunne needs the real name back.
Pretty bad.
I mean, it's like a dog. Butch, come here, Butch. Come here. Anyway, That's just my take on that. And then got Damian Priest and Logan Paul. Man, I'm going with who I want to win this match. There's a lot of good wrestlers in this match. There's going to be Ricochet. Ricochet and Logan Paul are going to do something crazy. They did the spot at WrestleMania. I think it's, I think it was WrestleMania. Was it the Royal Rumble? Royal Rumble's where it was. Did that crazy spot, got all those views. I think they're going to do something crazy here. But I'm going with LA Knight. Yeah, they've got to put the case in his hands. I think he's hot right now. He's a heel, but the fans love him. He'd be great with the case walking around. He's got the mouthpiece for it. That's who I'm going. I'm going with LA Knight.
Can I issue you a plea to do a bit of a rule change with these kind of things? Because I think when we're talking about 7 people, you should let us pick 2. To give us 2 to kind of, because
are you
I
just
think we all have to pick
the
LA
correct
Knight.
one, Matt, and it would mess your record up?
Exactly. Just to be safe, but there's part of me that thinks Logan Paul's going to win this, because I think when you look at all 7 or 8 of these guys, he's probably got the biggest star power, but at the same time, he's already wrestled Roman Reigns and he's already wrestled Rollins. So I can't see him wrestling one of those 2 guys again for a title. So if he cashed in, maybe he'd cash in against NXT's guy or something. But, I have a feeling that that's very WWE-ish to get him to win, and kind of get the social media views. But of all the guys you talked about, you're right. LA Knight is that hot guy. So it's hard to pick against him, but I think we're going to see LA Knight. So depending on how you want to rank it, if I only get to pick one, I'm going to take LA Knight to stay with you. But I have this sinking suspicion that they're going to give it to Logan Paul.
So basically, you're not confident enough in your Logan Paul pick to pick against me.
Exactly.
So if I let you pick first, you might have gone with Logan Paul because you didn't know who I was going to pick.
I would have given you that same speech.
Okay. All right. LA Knight for Mr. Diggs. Okay, Brandon, Jeremy, who you guys got?
Well, so I'm like you, Bret. Who I want to win is LA Knight. But I read something today. It's got my wheels turning in my head all day. It said they're planning an upset at Money in the Bank in the pay-per-view, but it doesn't involve Cody and Dom, and it doesn't involve LA Knight, which makes me think LA Knight's supposed to win. So, but I start thinking, man, what would be so? Is the upset Riddle and Gunther, or is it okay? Here's a crazy. Damian Priest wins Money in the Bank. Finn beats Seth later in the night. Damian cashes in on Finn.
I hate you, Brandon.
But my official pick is My official pick is LA Knight.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate all you guys stealing my thunder. I wrote 3 names down. LA Knight seems like the obvious choice. I'm with Matt. I think Logan Paul could win it. I think I've said this before. I think he's very good in the ring, but I think it's going to be Damian Priest. I'm going to go with Damian Priest to win.
That's why you were that. So you like Brandon's theory then, Jeremy?
I think Brandon's theory has a lot lot of weight. I
Is
do
it
think
better? Is it better than?
And I think Jeremy's going to be right, and I'm going to be disappointed because I want LA Knight to win. And I wouldn't be mad if Priest won, because I actually think I think Jeremy's going to be right, and I'm going to be upset. But
Is Jeremy?
I'm trying to speak.
Is Jeremy taking?
I'm trying to speak LA Knight.
You're taking Corey's theories. You got a theory now, Jeremy. So watch out. CM is going to be on you about the theories.
I don't have a theory. I just think as we move forward, I've been reading some things about Rollins is not going to be the champion for much longer. I think it's the perfect time to let Finn carry it. They've trusted him with a belt in the past, and he got hurt. If he's going to be the champion, then I think it's natural to have Priest win the Money in the Bank because they've kind of been not at odds, but there have been some things thrown in there.
It's friction.
So Brandon's theory is correct. And then you have Finn again having the belt for a very short time and losing it again. That would be interesting.
Well, they could let it like Jeremy kind of hinted there. They could actually let it linger.
Yeah.
Let Damian have it, and him be right there with Finn next to Finn every week. Finn's got the belt, Damian's got his briefcase, and let it kind of linger a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I don't really care when they do the men's cash in. I just hope the women's when they don't do the same night or only Carmella's the only woman to ever hold the Money in the Bank for more than a week.
And it was almost
the
the full
women's
year.
one always cashes in that.
Hey, the women's is 100% cash in as well. So when are they going to go with the first one that doesn't cash it in successfully?
Yeah, I just want a woman to hold it for a little bit. They always get rid of it that night or that next week.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Priest. I think there's a lot of the other guys. I mean, like you think about who they've put it on in the past, right? Like Otis won it not too long ago, if you remember. So could you put it on a Shinsuke? Could you give it to Ricochet? I mean, there's all kind of guys in there that you could, especially because they've thrown out this thing. I mean, they've thrown out this other piece of information that now the Money in the Bank can be used on the mid card titles too. So that makes some other guys a little more believable. But I think the fans may riot if Knight doesn't win. But I think for storyline future, I think that Priest makes a great winner. I don't know where Logan Paul would fit in the storylines moving forward, having the Money in the Bank. But I think that. But there's also that aspect of you never know when he's going to be there. He's so hit or miss on when he's in attendance. If he had the briefcase, it adds to it. But I still think it's Priest. But those are the three, in my opinion: Priest, LA Knight, and Logan Paul.
Okay.
But Logan Paul's probably gonna be the most fun, and him and Ricochet are gonna be the most fun in the match.
I think Escobar too, man. Like Escobar is one of those athletic guys too.
Well, and don't forget about Pete Dunne. I mean, he's can do some crazy stuff too. This is going to be an entertaining match. That's for sure. It's going to be very entertaining. But I think you've only got.
Do we think this starts the show?
Well, I just have an order that's been listed. I don't know that they've actually.
I know. I was just wondering what we thought.
I don't know,
because I think that changes things. If it starts the show, I think Priest wins. If it ends the show, well, I don't think it ends the show because
they usually have them earlier because of the fact that they can cash in later is always an option. I think they usually do.
Yeah, at least one of them. Yeah, but I think the men's one probably because, I mean, do we think the Civil War ends the show?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that's what I would guess, but that's just me.
But like, because LA Knight's gonna win. I mean, that ending the show would be that's a cool way to go out.
I think Seth
is him on top of the
Seth
ladder.
and Finn may go first. I mean, they like to lead off with Seth. We've seen that in the past.
Yeah. Well, if Seth and Finn go first, I don't think Damian. I mean, even though he didn't have to cash in that night, I just don't think he went. Like, I think placement kind of determines. Yeah. But my official pick's LA Knight.
Yeah. Okay. So we got 3 LA Knights and a Damian Priest. We got the women's match next. We got Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Io Sky, Trish Stratus. Man, this is an interesting one because, I mean, you got several that you could say could win it. You've only got one that has won it. They made that clear the other day. It was Bayley's the only one that's ever won the Money in the Bank match. I think there's going to be some interaction with her and Io. Maybe this ends the damage control finally. They've been kind of at each other the last few weeks. What do you guys think? I'm gonna let you guys go because I always go first. I'm gonna because this is interesting. You got Trish and Zoe Stark. Are they gonna be able to get along? I sure hope Trish doesn't win it because that would be just. I don't know.
I want to go first here because I think there's only one right answer. I think it's Io Sky. I think there is no other. I think Io's the only one that wins this, and somehow, we're going to see it all come to a head with her and Bayley. They've been planting it, and this is it where Io. This is her time, and I think that's. I just think she's the winner of this, and I don't see any other option.
I don't, and this is the minutia I was getting into about the 5-star, what it means to be a 5-star. But when you say there's only one right answer, to me, that means there's only one right answer. And I don't think you've even given me a compelling reason why that is the right answer. For me, the one right answer, or one of the right answers, if you will, is Becky Lynch, because she's been looking to be relevant for a while, and this is kind of gives her a bit of, and she may cash it in at WrestleMania and kind of, top it off with, that kind of a thing, like what Seth did, and kind of create your little thing. And that might get you your holding it for a while thing. And Becky Lynch is a believable main event at WrestleMania, whereas Io Sky is somebody who needs it, as far as having credibility.
Yeah, Becky doesn't need it. Becky's going to get the title picture before then anyway without it. So
but giving it to her gives her a lot of extra elements to put her in the title picture whenever she wants to be. She can finish up with Trish at SummerSlam and still continue to have that storyline. So I'm going to take Becky Lynch. And I think that is, for me, a no-brainer.
I've had
I
Becky
think
Lynch.
Zoe's main point in this match is going to be keep Becky Lynch from winning. So,
well, at first, and then
Go ahead.
maybe that's when the trouble between her and Trish comes up. When I've had Becky Lynch written down for a little bit now. I think Becky Lynch is the pick, and for me, it's because I think WWE is really scared to put somebody in that title picture that hasn't been established. I mean, Zelina Vega was a real stretch for them. I mean, they did it because they were in Puerto Rico. If they would have been there, she would have not been in that match, right?
Carmella?
Well, at the time, though, Carmella, though, had a little, I mean, she was a
Said
little
the
more
midget
relevant than
man,
she is
the
now.
midget man that was helping her. What was his name? James. What was
James
his guy?
Ellsworth.
Ellsworth.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He stole more money from WWE than pirated cable has. I just think that they want. I think Matt's right. It gives a lot of elements that you can add in to her over the next few months, and I think it would be something she would hold on to for a little bit. And you know, Becky Rhea, you know, at some point would be, you know, worth watching. Maybe that's something that comes up. I mean, not quick enough for SummerSlam. That's probably Becky and Trish, but maybe at Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, you can get that matchup. So, or Matt's right, she could hold it to WrestleMania and get the same matchup. But I think Lynch is the pick, at least for me.
Okay, so we got Becky Lynch for Jeremy.
One right answer, Brandon. One right answer.
We got Io Sky for.
Let's talk on Saturday night.
So I'm conflicted here. I've got a couple of ways that I think could go. I think both of your arguments are legit. I agree with both of you. I think the Io Sky Bailey thing, no matter what happens in the match, comes to a head here. Even if one of them or the other one wins or they don't win, it comes to a head. I don't know if Trish and Zoe Stark now, who's gonna if Trish starts to climb the ladder, is Zoe Stark just gonna let her climb the ladder, or is she gonna turn on? So they've got some things going on there. Zelina Vega, I think, is in the match because they want to push the LWO thing. She's a good worker. So I think those things all counteract. And when it comes down to it, what's left is Becky Lynch. And the part of me that doesn't want to pick her because, well, she doesn't need it, like you guys said, but it's hard to pick anybody else. Like, you know, Bailey's already won it. They don't need that for that storyline. They could sell. They can turn that into a really good feud with her and Io without the briefcase. The Trish thing with Becky Lynch is going to be there no matter who wins this match. I don't see Trish win it. Sure, they wouldn't do that. I don't think Zoe's ready. I think Becky Lynch is the natural selection here. No pun intended there with Charlotte Flair's natural selection thing. I just think she doesn't need it, but I think she's going to get it. I'm going with Becky Lynch. I don't know if any of those arguments made sense to you guys, but that's kind of how I worked it out in my head.
Well,
it does. And like you said, she doesn't need it, but I mean, Charlotte didn't need to win the Royal Rumble 2 years ago, but they like to give these big superstars those accolades, and that's something she's never had. In fact, she gave up her belt at Money in the Bank to Asuka when she announced she was pregnant. So I think this would be a nice.
Well, and honestly, if there would have been a different person in Zelina Vega's spot, that person would be a good candidate because they wouldn't be entangled in any of this. You had Becky Lynch entangled with Trish and them. You have Bailey and Io tangled. But I just don't. She's not a believable winner. I don't think they've put her in the title match already. She's a great worker. She's not elevated. Get that? She's not elevated enough to be at that level.
But y'all, go ahead.
I just don't think the briefcase has to affect storyline, right? Like if you give Lynch the briefcase, it doesn't affect any storyline. She can just have it for whenever she wants to use it later on. You have the built-in, like you mentioned with Bailey and Io, you have that storyline. I think Zoe and Trish will have some sort of conflict in there. It's kind of soon for her to turn on her, but I think it could happen. Maybe not something huge, but just something small that Trish could be pissed off about later on. And I don't think Zelina can win. So I think that it's just because it doesn't have a storyline effect necessarily. I think that's why you can let Becky win it and just hold on to it for when you want it. And then what it does is it naturally sets up whenever you're ready to pull the trigger on a big matchup, you have that in her hands, and now you can set it up that way with no other build.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know if it was Bret or Matt who said it, but one of them said that we still haven't on the women's side. We haven't had a build cash in, so that could, it could be someone different, and then they don't win. They get this, but then they end up failing, and never get the titles.
So you're trying to sell your Io Sky pick, is what you're telling us, Brandon.
Well, that actually probably be more of a Zelina sale.
I think that'd be a Trish sale. I think honestly, if you're gonna if that happens, it's a Trish sale, or even Bailey.
Yeah,
or even Bailey.
Yeah. Okay. So I know I don't need to. This next match, you guys all got Dominic Mysterio, I think, right? So I don't need to. I'm gonna go Cody Rhodes. You guys got Dom is your pick. I think Jereme's the way he's looking right at. He's got Dom on his sheet there.
No,
Is that the TK year booking sheet that he's got right there?
I'll say this though. I was watching Dominic the other night in the ring in his promo, and Monday night, I thought, okay, at least this guy's becoming more believable. Like he is starting to look more the part than he did, a year ago. I think.
It just trips me out that they boo him every time he starts to talk. Everyone just boo. It's just that I think it's the best heel heat I've heard in a long, long time. Like they don't even let him talk; they boo him before he even starts to do anything. It's great.
It's Christian Cage-ish.
Latino heat.
Well, I'm just like, at what point does this, and how I was thinking about this too? How and when does the Rhea Dom thing go away? Like, does it have to go on? Is it going to go away anytime soon? Is it going to go on forever? I don't know, but he doesn't win this match unless somehow Rhea gets involved.
I got a theory, Jeremy.
Okay,
so
I'm curious.
It's just a guess. So maybe at some point he entangles himself in one of her matches and costs her that belt. That blows them up.
Or Buddy Murphy shows up.
Well, or Matthews, Murphy, whoever it is, right? So I just think that would be something that would anger her enough to then maybe they have a match. Maybe she beats up Dominic Mysterio in a match.
It is
2023,
man. You can do it.
I would say I would pay for that. I'd pay to see that. But I don't know. That's just a theory.
One thing I think you're seeing a concerted effort for the WWE doing. You kind of saw it with Omos and Seth Rollins, that they're trying to get some of these bigger stars on there, even in between storylines. So obviously Cody's going to win, but I think it'll be a more entertaining match than one would expect. But I think it's just going to be a filler in there, but Cody's going to take it.
Rhea will help him, I'm sure, to keep him in it a few times. All right, so we pretty much know where Cody Rhodes is. Kyle's not here, so he took Dominic Mysterio, I think.
I heard that before he left.
Okay, so we got the next one up here. We got Gunther versus Matt Riddle. I'm going with Gunther. I think he's, Riddle's a good worker in the ring. Honestly, this has just kind of been tied with the Kevin Owens and Imperium whole. He kind of came in. He's buddies with him now. I think Gunther's winning this one. I don't think there's any question to me.
No question for me either. And again, I haven't watched Raw from this Monday, but I'm enjoying the Gunther and Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn interplay that they always seem to be finding around each other. And that's one of the longer build angles we've seen in a while. WWE starting to show some storytelling as far as that goes. I don't think this match has much.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, Matt.
Again, you messed my brain up now. Like,
I know, but you're jinxing it. You're starting to pat WWE on the back for a storyline, and we don't want to get too used to that because they'll disappoint us.
But KO is a believable person, not RKO, but Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn are believable enough to beat Gunther at some point. But it's certainly not. I even thought Drew McIntyre back at Clash at the Castle was a believable enough person to beat him. So who knows?
Where is he, Bal? Is he injured? I haven't seen McIntyre lately.
He's expected back soon, is what I was reading. I don't know why I was reading this today, but they're expecting him back to be pretty soon. I don't know where he's been. Like, I don't know.
Is he one of those free agents that can just show up anywhere?
Rumor is he's not happy, right? He was kind of upset with the way he was being booked, but I haven't read anything where he's going anywhere, right? But
Okay.
Anyway,
And
yeah, I think
rightfully so. He's not been booked well the last year.
I think Gunther wins. I'm with you guys. I think that Riddle's kind of getting the treatment of we helped you, we brought you back, welcome back, but we're not going to let you win anything anytime soon. He's been in some big matches, but it's first off, I don't believe he's had some good matches. I mean, like the cage match with Seth was really good, but I don't think he wins this match. I don't think it's time yet. Maybe they're waiting for Randy to come back. Maybe Orton's back soon, and Riddle kind of goes back that direction. It's kind of like other people. I don't know. He's kind of been thrown in this Sammy KO and Imperium match because they need a third person, I guess. But it doesn't really fit to me. Like it is what it is. But Gunther's going to win this.
Yeah, Gunther. I don't. This ain't where I see an upset coming. And
Brian, this is your upset you called earlier, right? The upset.
No, I said this is the one I don't see that happening. But I think it'll be a decent match. I'm looking forward to Riddle taking some of those chops and delivering some back. Where I don't know if his are gonna face Gunther much, but it'll be a fun little chop fest for a little bit because they're both known to. So, but Gunther's gonna hurt Riddle a lot worse.
All right, so we got the next one is the WWE Unified Women's Tag Team Champions. You got Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler taking on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Never lost the titles. Probably something you had to do. You had to run this back, even though Liv just shows up and now she's her partner. How many partners has Raquel Rodriguez had in the last month? About I lost count. 4 or 5.
It's been a lot.
I honestly, I think Rousey and Baszler retain. I think Raquel Rodriguez needs a push. Her and Rhea Ripley that went eye to eye. I don't know if it was this week or last week on Raw. I would love to see that match. Give me some of that match. I mean, I think that would be, Rhea needs it's more like Rhea beats up on all these little people, but then somebody her size, I think that would be, not that she needs anything else to elevate herself, but I think that would be a good solid match for me. I think the kind of tag thing for Rodriguez has kind of ran its course. So give me the 2 out of the 4 horsewomen from USC retaining.
Man, Brett, I disagree. I'm gonna have to I'll give you the Jereme treatment on this one because you say something so completely ridiculous.
Bring it. I can take it.
I'm just like flummoxed at this point because Raquel Rodriguez has nothing. I mean, what do you want to do? See her flex her back? I mean, that's her main event.
Yeah,
status.
show her back on.
Show her back, and that's her gimmick or whatever. She did nothing for me in NXT. She does nothing for me here. I don't see her in Rhea Ripley. The fact that you even put her in Rhea Ripley category was personally offensive to me.
They teased it though. Did you not watch?
You are the one who put her in that category.
I'm just telling you what
you highlighted that.
Where it's going. I didn't tell you I was right.
It don't need to be going there because she is nowhere near that. And the fact that we already had Liv Morgan have to be unbelievable beating Ronda Rousey in that Money of the Bank kind of situation is already ridiculous as it is. Those two are legit. I mean, I always look at the legit factor, and I like Ronda. I like Shayna. I'd like to see them go at it at some point, even though that might be a WrestleMania match at some point, maybe a year or two down the road. They're going to do what they said, and they're going to elevate kind of what they want, what Bayley and Sasha, or back in the day wanted to elevate those tag titles. They're going to elevate those tag titles. So the question is, can WWE get believable wrestlers to make those good matches? And it ain't Liv and Raquel. So I think we might even have a little bit of a squash match here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be Ronda and Shayna. I don't see much. This might be the bathroom break match.
I'm going to pull a Lee Corso here. Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast.
You guys forget how much they love Liv Morgan in WWE. And not just the fans, they love Liv Morgan and they love Raquel. I'm not so sure that they love Ronda. Like I don't know, man. I'm gonna go live Raquel here. Like I guess I'm either
So,
gonna go all in
so you
here and
go
have a
live,
chance to
you go
win.
live Raquel, and then Shayna and Ronda get mad at each other, and they feud at SummerSlam.
I'm not gonna go that far with it,
Oh.
but they lose the titles. The love for Liv is. I mean, if you look at the track record, what they did with Liv, man, they did a nice slow build with her to finally get her a win. I just think. I mean, I don't know. Call me crazy. I'm trying to win a championship here, and that's what I need. You guys make great points. I mean, if they truly get behind Ronda and Shayna, you got to find a very good pair to beat them. I just don't think they're sold on doing that. I just think that Ronda and Shayna are kind of, I hate to say, placeholders. It goes one or two ways here, right? They either believe that they can be the dominant team that they say they are, and they're going to do that. Which, if you guys are right and they squash these two, then that's what we're going to get for the next few months. I don't see anybody beating them. There's nobody else. So we'll see what happens. But I think that the Liv Raquel thing, they carry a little weight. It seems like, at least.
So Matt, I hope you just heard that. Like, you squashed me for thinking that. So I hope you give Jereme some of that as well.
I mean, Jeremy's just giving us points right now, so let him give us points, and we can make fun of him in the scoreboard on the recap show.
All right, so we got see what's going on next. We got right here. We'll start with we'll go with the Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Man, they've really done a great job of it. Did y'all watch the promo this past Monday? Matt, did you see the Monday Night Raw yet?
I haven't seen Monday Night Raw yet.
A great promo package with Finn. Like, they have really done a good job of like building this match. Going, and we talk about it all the time, going back to that match they had, the first ever Universal Championship match where Finn went over and had to relinquish. I mean, they've really done a good job of using that previous feud in here. You've got Finn and Damian Priest kind of, not just kind of having a weird relationship going on. You got JD McDonough showing up, talking to Finn, chit-chatting. There's a lot of things in this little group that's very interesting right now. And again, I'm gonna knock on wood because I'm not jinxing it, but more good storytelling. This is a tough pick for me. Seth just got the title, but he doesn't need it. To me, I think this is where they put Finn over right here. I think it's Finn's time. He needs it. Seth Rollins can come out every week and they sing his song, and he doesn't need the title. The title I think that he needs is to go beat Roman Reigns at some point. That would be something big for him with their history and all that. I don't say that's who's going to beat him. I'm saying that, but I don't think he needs a title. So I'm going to go with Finn Balor in this one. I know it's kind of the underdog pick, but I just feel like he needs it right here more than, and I think it sets up a really interesting thing, especially if Priest wins the briefcase. But if Finn Balor holds the title right next to Damian Priest, how long was it before Priest, even if he doesn't need the Money in Bank, if he wants to turn on him right there, and then Finn wants a match, and that sets up a feud for that belt. So all that to say, I'm going to go with Finn Balor.
Yeah, I've got to double down on my Damian Priest to win the Money in the Bank pick. I'm going to go with Finn Balor too. I think that it depends on who you listen to and what you read, that the Seth title reign wasn't going to be very long. He's been a good worker for them, and he's been working every week and been in the match every week or whatever. But I think that I was kind of on the fence about it, and I'll be honest, the promo on Monday kind of, I don't want to say it tipped the iceberg for me, but like, okay, I can see it now. I can see him being the one who wins the match, and I'm with you. I think there's more for Seth out there. How do you get to that point? I don't know. I think we're still a long way away from Roman being able to face anybody other than what he's dealing with right now. But I think Finn wins, and I think that they, like I said, they've proven that they will put the belt on him in the past, and I think that he's done some really good work. I'm not a big Judgment Day guy, but I think he's done good work over the last few months, and I think it's going to be his time to get the belt back.
I'm sitting here listening to your logic and listening to Bret's logic and wondering, Like, do you watch wrestling? Do you understand what the point of wrestling is? Because the point of wrestling is to be the world champion. And now you're saying he doesn't need to be the world champion. Well, yeah, he kind of does need to be the world champion because that's what makes you the best in wrestling. That is Ric Flair doesn't need the belt. He needed it 16 times, obviously. I mean, that's the pinnacle. That's what you want to be. You don't say, oh, I want to make good TV. You want to be the champion. And that's what they go and talk about all these interviews, want to be the champion. Why give him the belt to try to elevate the second belt just to take it off? If you wanted Finn to be the champion, you could have put it on him in the tournament and it could have been believable.
Well, you give it to Seth. You give it to Seth, Matt, because you reward him for all the work for letting him be the very first.
Well, you don't need a hot shot. The belt's kind of a thing. They're not going to hot shot it. Seth is going to win this match, and the fact that they've made it believable for you two, it's good. I'm glad that y'all have a little bit of wonder in this match, like a little child wondering, is Andre going to get slammed here or whatever. I'm glad you get to have that feeling.
You haven't watched Monday Night yet, so we'll give you a pass. I have not seen
Monday Night, but again, we're not going to be seeing these 2-week championships. WWE invests long term, and we don't see these hot shots anymore, and we're not going to see the hot shots here. Seth is going to win, but it's going to be a good match, and you two get to have your disbelief suspended for a little while. So I'm excited for you too. But I'm going to take the point too.
Let's see what Brandon goes with here.
So like I haven't seen, because like I was talking about the upset earlier. Well, this probably would be where it is, but I'm gonna flip the narrative too. I actually agree with Matt here, and I'm gonna pick Seth. I think this, outside the Money in the Bank match, probably the match of the night, just pure wrestling match. I mean, the Bloodline's gonna be the most fun story, but pure wrestling match, this is gonna be, this is two of the best. And every time I watch Seth from now on, I'm gonna dream of the day we ever get a Seth and Ospreay match. Because that's probably that would be I would consider that a dream match, but I don't know if that'll ever happen unless that would mean Seth leaving the WWE. So it ended up being Tyler Black against Will Ospreay. But this match, I think Seth's gonna win. I don't want to take the title off him yet, but I do think if it is, it's Finn, but and it sets up the Priest but since I picked LA Knight, I got to go with Seth here, and then we'll maybe get an LA Knight Seth Rollins thing here in the future.
Sounds awful.
All right, that leaves one match. The match that we think will be the main event, the Bloodline Civil War tag team match. Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns versus the Usos. Man, it's been a long time getting to this point, but the story has been excellent. I've got a couple of ways I think this could go, but I'm going to go with the fact that it's going to be Roman and Sikoa. And the reason I'm going to go with that is because I think there's going to be some kind of shenanigans where they bring in another member to change the balance, or something's going to happen and they're going to win, because I think they're going to extend this to SummerSlam, where maybe the Usos then get their revenge on Roman then. So I'm going to go with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa to pick up the win.
You talk about inappropriately, might I add you, about who needs to win and who doesn't need to win when you're talking about Seth and you're talking about Finn. Roman doesn't need to win. I mean, Roman's going to be Roman, whether, he's not going to eat a pin, but, they lost their match against Sammy and Kevin, and that didn't really change much. We talk about who needs a win. The Usos need a win. I mean, they already got, they've been beaten down and they've already been bullied by them. And you can tell this story so many different ways regardless. And that's going to be the fun thing about this, is it's going to be the storytelling as opposed to necessarily who wins the match. I think the Usos are going to end up winning the match. But again, I can definitely see shenanigans, and I can see a new introduction into this storyline for sure, because this is their money storyline right now. This is what's getting the ratings on Friday night. That's what's driving potentially negotiations and a lot of things. But I think we got to pay it off with England. You got to let the Usos win this match.
I'm going to let you guys kind of make the pick for me because you guys assured me last time we talked about this that the storyline was far from over, that there's still a lot more to get out of it. Because I kind of thought, okay, maybe you need to end this thing and get it over with quick. And to me, if you're going to continue the path, I'm going to go with Roman and Solo because at the end of this whole storyline, who do you think is going to be the ultimate winner? I mean, you guys tell me. Like, to me, when this storyline is finished, Roman is the big loser, right? I mean, he has to be as much as you've told the story. So I think if that's the case, then I think that they win now. It's not over yet, and I think Roman and Solo win this week. I think they get this round.
Man, I'm having a hard time on this one. I don't know. Like, and I think that's what's going to make it fun is I have no idea who's going to win this one. I don't know who to pick. And I think, Matt made a good point. Jereme made a good point. There's and I don't like. And Jeremy's point kind of leads me to I think because I don't want this story to end. I mean, it's the best thing
I
we've
see how
had.
it is, Brandon. I had no good points. I see how it is. That
Well,
really,
you didn't, Brad. We're still stuck on your previous points, and you've lost credibility with me, Brad. You're in Jereme. You're in Jeremy's mode now of sitting in the stands coaching after getting ejected after your 5-star match. But Brandon and I need people. We need we need people to pick Tyler over Longview so we can get some easy points every now and then on the East Texas pick'ems because
Melissa over South Oak or South Oak over Melissa.
You must be talking about Corey. Corey's goes with the upset picks. It's not me. I'm going with who I think is going to win. You haven't watched our show enough, obviously, Matt.
Oh, I'm talking about Jereme. I'm just in his love of whatnot. You're just dreaming, so you might legitimately think that Tyler's going to be Longview this week, but it ain't going to happen.
I'm not the pick'em champ for nothing, Matt, here. So,
I got to bring my belt out next show.
But winning an East Texas pick'em is like dating the 10 with big toes. I mean, you got to come to DFW and win a legit title for me to take you seriously.
Whoa. Man.
Whoa.
Man, you start counting rings up here pretty soon.
Oh man! All right. So final thoughts on Money in the Bank.
I still never got to pick the match.
Oh, that's right.
I flipped my proverbial coin over here, and I think I'm gonna go with Roman and Solo because I'm gonna go with that.
So we'll make Matt the underdog there in that match.
Okay.
So Matt went with Cujo. So.
Well,
we went with the Usos.
So a little salty about Cujo as a Plano East grad at 95.
So final thoughts on this one. I think there's a lot of good storylines, and we've said it a few times. We don't want to try to jinx it too much, but more storylines going into a pay-per-view for WWE in this particular event than can remember in recent history. I don't know if you guys can think of any that we've had more. We've got the storyline. We've got Logan Paul coming to this match kind of on random. You've got Ricochet and Logan Paul also with their familiarity with their spots. You've got LA Knight coming in as he's just been talking noise to everybody and he's been getting cheered. You've got the women's is all intertangled. You've got Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus trying to not keep Lynch from winning. You got Bayley and Io Sky kind of not on the same page. You've got of course Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio. The match is going to not be that great, I don't think, but they've told the story at least with it. They've at least tried to sell on the fact that Dominic has a chance. We know he doesn't, but they've at least tried to do something with it. They just didn't stick him in a match with Cody Rhodes for no reason. They've at least told something. We've kind of got some history with Rousey and Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, in a previous match. They've got a little history there. Gunther and Riddle have been going at it, and that storyline, like each one of these, of course, the Bloodlines tells itself. Each one of these matches has some story in it, which excites me for the show. Now, we haven't got to the show yet, so we'll see how it ends up turning out. But at least the build for me has been pretty good on WWE's on their standard.
I got to be honest. I think it's going to be a little underwhelming. Truthfully, I think it's going to be they're going to kind of mail it in, except for the big moments. Truthfully, I mean, as I look at the card, and there may be some more added.
Well,
I
and
don't know,
KO and
man.
Sammy aren't on the card yet, and I've heard they're going to be added in there. Maybe they fight Imperium. I don't know. That hasn't been added there.
But that's a no-brainer too, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I just don't think. I think when it's all said and done, um, it'll kind of be underwhelming. I think.
You
I
don't
mean,
think the build's been better though, Jeremy?
the build's been better than what we've gotten from them. I just don't
Yeah.
think that the card carries itself. I mean, of course, it's Money in the Bank. It's not,
We're trying to
too
compare
many-
it to what we just saw.
and we should. I mean, that's not fair because it's not going to be what we just saw. But the storylines are going to be better than what we just saw. But I just think that ultimately, I mean, other than a couple of, I mean, the Money in the Bank match, okay, Civil War match, yes, Seth and Finn, but there's nothing else that really makes me be like, man, I got to watch that. And truthfully, I don't think, I mean, I won't, I for other reasons, but I'm not going to sit in front of the TV Saturday and watch it when it happens. I'll go back and
Yeah.
watch it later and kind of go.
Yeah, I will. I'm actually going to be out of town, so I'll watch it that night probably.
Yeah, I'll delay it, but I'll give you a variable that you didn't consider, Jeremy. This is going to be the England crowd, and I mean it's going to be a hot crowd, and we haven't. Whenever you get a WWE hot crowd, I mean you can have magic.
Are they going to be
right.
hot? Are they going to be hot for Finn Balor? You know, he's
Yes.
from over there too, so that could be another reason why they could go over with. I mean, you can imagine if he wins, the reaction.
But they might want to sing Seth's song.
They will.
Well, they will still sing a song, but they can still react for.
And wasn't it in Europe on a European tour where they sang a song for 20 straight minutes or something? I think I saw that quick hit somewhere.
In France, yep.
His song is what turned him face. I mean, he never really made a face turn. It just everyone kept singing his music so much they finally just he started talking not rude to the crowd. He started actually acknowledging them.
And if LA Knight were to win the Money in the Bank and it goes on first, that crowd will be on fire. And they'll be on fire anyway. But they'll go to the whole next level if LA Knight were to win the Money in the Bank right off the bat, I think they would go nuts.
Yeah. And Jeremy, you were talking about like the whole card, but normally I don't really even care what the rest of the card is normally because I just want to see the Money in the Bank matches. Like the Money in the Bank is it's a novelty. I think this is one of the better Money in the Bank cards we've had because like having the Civil War and the Seth and Finn are like added bonuses.
True.
Like, this is a really good Money in the Bank card because Money in the Bank is like, hey, I just want to watch the Money in the Bank match and whatever else happens, but I want to see who wins Money in the Bank and then what they do from there. But with this year, you got some added juice to it.
But to me, of these 7 matches, if you're not watching it live, I'm not going to watch it live. I'll never watch 3 of these matches, if I'm being honest with you. I won't watch Cody and Dom. I won't watch Gunther and Riddle. I won't watch the women's tag match. I'm being honest with you. I won't. Will I maybe skip to the end, see who wins or how they win? Yeah, but I won't. I have no desire to watch those 3 from beginning to end, from bell to bell. But the other 4 I'll watch. I mean, for sure.
Well, since you're watching live, it really doesn't matter. But how do y'all feel about a 3:00 Saturday premium live event?
I mean, if I didn't have anything else, if I wasn't out of town or doing something, I would watch it live. I mean, I don't hate it when it's not all the time, but I mean, it didn't work out.
We've kind of gotten a few of those in a row, right? We got that in Saudi.
We'll probably have that with the All In.
Saudi was like noon. Like the 3 o'clock is kind of different. It was
All In's going to be like that, I'm sure, since it's going to be over there. I mean, start time as well.
And with any, I mean, like, because I wasn't, but the AEW, like, I'm kind of glad because it's still like it starts at 3, it may end by 9, so you won't be up till 2 in the morning.
True.
Yeah, it's true. That is true.
But one thing I'm kind of building on my point a little bit earlier. I'm very interested in the crowd reaction because you had Saudi, which was a complete desert as far as crowd reactions. WrestleMania, you lose a lot there as well. And we talked about in the Backlash how we really enjoyed the crowd there. So we're going to finally, and a lot of these SmackDowns are in Topeka, and I mean, you don't get really good crowds in some of these places, and you still see LA Knight shining through despite being in some random city in South Carolina in front of 6,000 people. So when he gets in front of a hot crowd, I think it's going to be like, I think they're going to tell. They may end up if they pick Logan Paul to win hypothetically. LA Knight, from what I'm expecting his reaction to be, they may change it on the fly because I wonder if the WWE truly knows what they have in him because they're kind of just seeing this in just random crowds. Put him in a hot place and they're gonna go nuts for him.
Well, at least they got rid of the model stick. Oh, they almost ruined him before they even started. Oh, man.
And that's completely done totally now, right? Like, are there
Yeah.
two guys in there? Because Maxine's with Alpha Academy now, so.
Otis.
And you think they brought LA Knight in to be a manager, like he was going to be a mouthpiece. Like, man,
like
they
Adam
made the
Cole and Keith Lee.
Yeah, they made the right move there. I mean, truthfully, they did the right thing. And I was actually listening on some social media today. There was a part of an interview I heard of him talking about when he came to WWE. You know, he was at Impact, obviously, and the champion and all that kind of stuff. And he knowingly said, I'm going to take a huge pay cut to come to WWE, but I know that I can't go anywhere without making that move. And I think he's done it the right way. He's come over. He's kind of started at the bottom. He's going to be a huge star for them. They're going to put the belt on him at some point. You have to think. I don't know if it's yet, but it's coming. And man, he's fun to watch. He's fun. I mean, he's great with the microphone. I kind of hated when they put him with Bray Wyatt when that happened. I thought that match was terrible, but that's a whole nother story. But I think that he's got a lot bigger things coming down the road, and it could be this week. I mean, the other thing is if he doesn't win, Matt, you're talking about the crowd being hot for him to win, but it could really set him on fire if he loses. I mean, you know, that it could go both ways here. He's going to play a huge part in that match and the rest of the night, I think, either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Off the Ropes on the Disrespect Sports Network. AEW Forbidden Door review and Money in the Bank preview show. We'll be back next week at some point to review this Money in the Bank and see if the professor can come on top of the Pick'em Challenge. For Bret, Jereme, Professor Matt Diggs, Brandon Ogden, and K.O. Collins. We'll catch you next time right here on the Disrespect Sports Network. Good night, everyone.